The intention of justice is to see that the guilty people are proven guilty and that the innocent are freed. Only we have a problem here.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are taking a look at this case from a psychological perspective.
The only change to our agreement with the Commonwealth and your order would be adding one other litigation that it could be used in.
Wishing death on people.
The communications are highly relevant to the negligent hiring, supervision, and training claims that Ms. Reed is bringing against the Massachusetts State Police, as well as the town of Canton.
And now you find out that this guy is so willing, so casual in his racism.
This man should not be treated any differently than any other witness in any other case.
To make references to something that none of us knew.
Mr. Proctor's been through quite enough here.
By the way, notice Lally sitting in the back there.
This is a gentleman who committed 12 years of his life as a Mass State Trooper.
There's a holiday in Canton that none of us knew about, Kill a Black Person Day. Wow.
He was evaluated every single year by his supervisors.
The chart below identifies the reports, the investigators who authored the reports, and the supervision who approved the report and the file name. Oh, look at those names on there. Buchanan and Tully.
Oh, wait a minute. Those are his words. He say kill an N-word day, not a black person day.
He was never disciplined.
It's who this man is. He's a racist, really a racist person from the beginning. But some of the things that he says, like he'll say things like, it's kill an N-word in Canton Day.
I get your
So
point.
what are we protecting? That's what I can't figure out. What are we protecting here?
And one of the stories that I used to just gloss over was the story about Julie Nagel going outside to see her brother, whether or not John O'Keefe could have hit his head on that beautiful brickstone fireplace.
In this file, you can see here there are diagonal snow streaks. Somebody didn't want us to see John's tailgate in the actual condition it was at this specific time.
Agent Higgins' actions are highly suspicious and, in my professional experience, would have immediately raised concerns. Upon receiving the information, I would have taken immediate steps to obtain his personal cell phone records. Specifically, I would have requested a comprehensive record of call detail records, cell site location information, and network signaling data. McCabe's historical cell phone records. Wow. By obtaining McCabe's historical phone records, investigators could have determined the accurate time of her communication with O'Keefe and Reed. Relying solely on forensic extraction of her mobile device is insufficient because these extractions regularly have contradictions in dates and times. Can you tell me now why Judge Bev didn't want Michael Easter up as a defense witness in Karen Reed's case? I mean, look at his report. And I'm going to probably go on the qualifications of this gentleman.
I literally said out loud, what on earth is going on in Norfolk County?
What's your theory on how that cell phone ended up flying 30 feet today?
It just did. Obviously, I'm thinking of the death of Boston police officer John O'Keefe in the DA's office, embarrassing controversies and victims who, to this date, have not gotten the justice they deserve. What this DA's office needs is wholesale, cultural, systemic change.
Nah, Lally and the crew are doing just fine.
There she is.
Gotcha. Okay, so your sister...
My sister Jillian, yes.
It's funny.
That entire section of this file is not a genuine dash cam recording.
You have to buy that.
Here!
So, you have to buy that.
Here!
So...
And showing solidarity, you can see them there.
It's about getting justice for John O'Keefe. There clearly is an issue of integrity.
How dare they?
Justice for all. Only we have a problem here.
Boy, do we ever. Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. It's our Monday Nooner show. Super excited to be here today. So much going on in this story and saga of justice for John O'Keefe, right? So let me bring to the stage my co-host, Mr. Loophole Lawyer. Hello.
Is it really justice for John at this point, or is there something else that is personal to all of us that we're deflecting onto this case?
I think for me, it's always been about John because of the fact that like he embodies all of these characters that are very close to my heart just from growing up in Massachusetts. So I don't think it's like that for everybody. I think for some people, it's, Karen and the injustice. They identified with Karen. I know my sister feels that way and everything else, right? It's just the corruption and wow, I can't even believe we have to get to the FOIA stuff. It's wild, but the whole case seems to be unraveling a bit. And I think this lawsuit was probably a pretty colossal mistake on their part. But that said, I think for me, it's about John, but it may not be that for everybody. Why do you think, what do you think you were grabbed by in this case?
The money on YouTube was great. The first video that took, we were making over like $35,000 in a month when it was really crazy.
Really?
And
wow, that's crazy.
Which is like a lot for this type of channel. And when the whole world was watching, it was great. Now, there has to be something, and I've never actually pondered why I'm so obsessed with this case. Now, I know we're getting into the Proctor issue, and I love watching you white people deal with the phrase N-word. If you want to tell me that you're not black or have no black family members or black friends that live in your neighborhood, you say the phrase N-word. I've never heard this phrase growing up, ever. Being from a white house and a black house and then having a Jamaican mother, I never heard anyone say N-word. So I love watching all you white people stumble over this word, because why I'm bringing it up is supposedly Proctor said something with regard to it. I haven't seen any proof or any context as to it. But for me, Sam, it now becomes this great distraction as to who killed John O'Keefe, because I know for certain Proctor didn't do it. And it's very important to Karen's claim for negligent supervision, negligent hiring. Those are all legal claims that will lead to significant amount of money for Karen. When you're bringing a lawsuit like this, you need to have defendants that are liable and that caused you damages, but that can also pay.
Right.
So correct. That goes to the defamation case against Aiden and Karen. If Aiden is protected with a lot of his assets being in his homestead or not even having much assets, and then Karen will have a significant amount of money eventually. Like this is going to happen. Right.
Yes,
so there's millions of dollars. But for us, and just to the point that you were making, now we get to get into all the discovery that we really wanted to. And I'm not sure those four dopes realize what they're up against right now.
I don't think they have any idea. No, what were you going to say? Yes.
If they win, they lose, because this would have to go to a full trial if it's not decided on the papers. And if that's the situation where you have Aiden Carney getting in there and literally deposing, or obviously his attorneys will be doing it, but let's say he can't afford an attorney, then all of a sudden he's deposing everybody and getting to the point of, was what he said defamation? I want to talk about that a little bit later as well. So you're saying that there was a FOIA discovery that was made. I did see something with regard to Michael Easter, who we both acknowledge and admire. We want to get him on the show if we could. Now, where did that come from?
So I believe this is the Kyle Sharkey FOIA dump. So he had put in a request. There's a couple of things going on behind the scenes with these FOIA requests, as you are well aware. What's happening is these requests are being made, and then they come back and they say, oh, well, it's going to cost us money to print the documents and get them all together. And so they give you a low number. But then when you actually go to, they come back, right? At a certain point, you send the money and then they come back and they say, oh, no, it turns out it's going to be another $1,000 or whatever. So that happened, I believe, in the Kyle Sharkey case, or he ended up getting quoted a high figure. It was like another $500. And so Emily C., to her credit, promoted, did like a little Venmo campaign, and people donated, and he came up with the money. And within a few days, we got this Google Drive, or, it appeared somehow. So that's where I think a lot of this came from.
Okay, so I'm still caught in the middle of this, not actually kind of like put on the back burner, but Emily fronted at $350, I think it was, because she had a check. And then we got the response back that it was going to be another $2,500, something like that. And then Corey said just to drop it for now. But then she just texted me this morning saying she's going to appeal. And I know what she's saying, basically follow what we did. Now, I hope they didn't cash Emily's check because we never pursued the documents. Did she ever get her money back? Because we were sending her a check, but then they said that, well, I was listening to Corey saying that not to pursue it, because what they were saying was that there was 1,200 pages of emails for 2 weeks for Berkowitz. But I know generally when you get 1,200 pages of emails, about 1,000 will be repeats, because they just repeat and show you if you reply to it, then it's repeated. So I didn't want to pay $2,500 for that. So I never pursued it, but they should not be accepting Emily's check then, or well, then we owe Emily $350 if they did, but we haven't received anything for it yet.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we have to talk about it, whether it's worth it to continue to pursue, to whether we should try to raise the money or whatever. But, you know, this request, I don't know exactly what Kyle Sharkey was asking for, but to his credit, we got a lot of incredible information. So I was up till like 4 a.m., 3:30, 4 in the morning last night, because I realized, I knew that it was out there. I didn't know what was in it. I saw the Michael Easter report because I saw LTL Media reading it. And then I went in and I got the actual Google Drive. So it's like 3 in the morning and I'm going through these emails and these documents, and I stumble upon the CARS report from Trooper Paul. And it was like a show-stopping moment. I was like, I had to reread it and reread the same words over and over and over again to come to the realization that this entire trial is a complete mockery. Like, it's a total joke. The fact that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts took the most absurd, like, Joseph Paul did not have a clue what he was doing. And I'm not saying that to be a jerk. Seems like a nice enough person. He was in way over his head. Nobody knew what was coming. And you always have to remember that. Nobody knew this was coming. You know, nobody saw Karen Reed coming like this. And so what he submits is, well, you can take a look at it, but it essentially proves that Karen was not driving the vehicle at the 1162 trigger event that they are saying she was. And I'll never forget this because I had been studying these key cycles. Everybody who's been following me a long time knows I was way in on these key cycles, trying to figure out if it was her. But it turns out that they completely misrepresented his CARS report in trial 1, which we'll look at. And then in trial 2, the judge forbade them from talking about it. So I now know, looking at this report, that the defense, the reason why they didn't have ARCA look at the 1162 trigger was because it would have been an absolute joke. It wasn't Karen driving the car, and they knew it, but they had to figure out a way to get around it because the judge refused to allow them to bring in Trooper Joseph Paul's CARS report.
Okay, so you're saying CARS report. Is that an acronym? Or
yeah, it's an acronym. It means something accident reconstruction. Let me see if I can pull it up. I have to do a screen share with my Google Chrome to be able to pull it up. So let me take a second to do it.
Better close out anything you don't want us to see. And to your muscular, hunky fiance, Samantha texted me at 3 in the morning, but it had nothing to do with anything besides this CARS report, which I didn't really understand what you were saying. There's nothing nefarious about that 3 a.m. text message.
No, there isn't. No, really, there isn't. All right, well,
I think it's pretty obvious to him, but just in case, you never know with these meatheads. They may go crazy if they see you texting me at 3 in the morning.
No, he knows I'm obsessive.
Not with me, though, just to be clear.
That's funny, though. Wait, hold on. I just uploaded it, and now for some reason, hold on, let me focus. Hold on. Should be right at the top.
Take your time. We ain't going anywhere. We got 3 hours.
FOIA. Here it is. Beautiful. Okay. So, oh my It's making me download it again. That's a problem because if I download it for some reason, I'm not able to open it. Hold on. Let me take, you know what I'm going to do? Let me just grab the screenshot just so we can take a look at this one section of the report to get started. Okay. All right. So the basic deal here is, I'll just show them what I sent you actually. The basic deal here, remember he shows images from this report during the trial. So we've all seen some of these images. But what we didn't see was some of the fine print, right? Some of the actual verbiage in this report. And it's key. It's absolutely key. Okay, so let me make sure I get the right one. Here it is.
To me, what he showed us was very clear. Yeah, at the trial, when he showed his pictures, it was very clear what he was displaying and exactly how it happened. So I'm not sure what you're going to show us that could contradict anything that we saw at trial 1.
Can you guys see that at all? Should I try to make a better photo? I should probably make the better. Okay, let me try to do it.
You can't zoom in with that?
I don't think so, but I can make a better image. Hold on. That was just the screenshot of what I had sent you, I think.
Yeah, the only one that could understand that is Corey Hopkins. She loves those diagrams that have multiple letters, multiple words, and arrows and things like that. You need to have that type of intelligence to understand that.
Let me make sure I have the right thing here. Okay, yep, here we go. I think this is everything. And it's important because this should be better. A little better, right?
Yes.
All right. So this is the rubric, or the diagram is Joseph Paul's, like the key cycles are all the way on the left. Then he has the time that the key cycles ran for. Okay. So how long the car was running for. And a key cycle is not an engine cycle, to be clear. A key cycle is just essentially the car went on in any way, like the power went on. So it could be an engine cycle, but it also could just be you turned the air conditioning on and we're sitting in your car. Okay. So just to be clear. So Trooper Paul obviously did not track the history of Karen's vehicle before he gets it. He starts doing testing with it, and he does not like stop and go, geez, I wonder how many people have driven this car since the night that we're talking about. He just went and looked like generally at any mileage that was within like 100 miles of when he got the car and testing began. Gotcha. And assume that like, oh, well, they picked it up that day, so it must have not gone anywhere, right? That's essentially what happened. So here it says, VCH report showed 22 separate triggers that occurred on odometer mileage 12665 to 12666, miles and key cycle 1164. Hold on. There were the last 22 events in the report, and they can be related. This is important. And they can be related to the testing done on February 1st, 2022. I read this sentence 100 times, you guys. The mileage noted at the time of the inspection was 12665 and 12666. Okay? Everybody with me?
Yes.
1164, 12665, and 12666. The key cycle trigger events that the entire case of the Commonwealth rested on was 1162. Okay? Key cycle 1164, Trooper Paul's testing. Key cycle 1162, allegedly Karen Reed driving the vehicle. But let's review how many times Karen Reed drove the car between when they picked it up and when she was driving John O'Keefe in front of 34 Fairview. Okay. So we have the going backwards in reverse. Let's start with Karen first, because we also have the tow truck driver. Remember the tow truck driver?
Yep.
So Karen leaves 34 Fairview. She goes back to One Meadows. Okay. She leaves again, so we'll put that aside. Then we have, she gets in the car at 5 something, or 5 a.m. approximately, and she goes looking for John on her own, right? So that's 1. Then she goes, and I'm not sure, was it the same? Does she go back to the house first? Can't remember.
Or
Does she
is
go
it
out?
right to Carrie Roberts' house?
Yeah, I don't remember. But either
Yeah,
way, let's
okay.
just say it's 1. We'll
Gotcha.
say it's the same trip, right? So it's 1 trip. I think she does go back to the house first. Somebody else might know. But so that's 1. Then we have, let's say Karen's vehicle is now in front of 34 Fairview. Let's just say it was 1 trip, just because we'll be on the conservative side, right? We don't want to overestimate. So then we're in front of 34 Fairview. And where does she go from there? Where does the car go from 34 Fairview? Goes to
her parents' house?
Yeah, how does that happen? How does
know.
Karen's
How do I
car
know?
get? I'm just thinking about
Well-
it. So Karen, go ahead.
Didn't she leave it at Carrie Roberts'
No,
house?
right. Sorry, you're right. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Correct. Yes, it was Carrie's car that's in front of 30, of course.
Right.
So she leaves it at Carrie's house or Jen's house. Carrie's house? No, she leaves it at One Meadows. I'm sorry. She drives back to One Meadows.
Oh, right. Carrie must follow her
Yes,
back. Yeah,
that's
'cause
right.
Carrie didn't
They all
want to drive
follow.
her own. Right. Got it.
Yes. So Karen is back. Karen's truck is back at One Meadows. So that's one full
cycle.
trip. Yeah.
Right.
So then her dad takes the Lexus from One Meadows and drives it to Dedham? Dayton. Okay. So that's
Right.
2.
That's 2 for sure.
Then, so that's 2. So then from there, we have, so I think it's more than 2, though. I think we're missing a trip.
Yeah, but if we're just being conservative, then 2, and then the tow truck driver will be at least 3.
Tow truck, right. Why,
Right.
Vince? Why would it be 3?
Well, we just count the 2. You're saying if it starts on and off, that's 1 key cycle?
It is, yes.
Right. So we have guaranteed at least 3 before this.
Oh, yeah. So nobody's more than 1, right? Because you got to tow.
Right.
The car has to go onto the tow truck, right?
Right.
And then it has to come off of the tow truck.
Gotcha.
So that's
now
at
you have 4.
least 4. Okay? It's at least 4, maybe more. So now if you do the math, 1164 minus 1164 minus 4 is not 1162.
60? Yeah, exactly.
So this report definitively tells us that Karen wasn't driving. I mean, it's not even possible.
Gotcha.
So this right here is essentially completely proves that Karen wasn't driving the car. Now, the reason why this didn't come out clearly in trial 1 was because, first off, we didn't have the information that we do now. They go out of their way to, Trooper Paul tries to say that the car just didn't register. The car just didn't register the key cycle. Like it just didn't, for some reason, the car didn't didn't turn on and register it in the car data. And then in trial 2, when Alessi was in charge and bringing this information to Judson Welcher, the Bev just completely shut it down. So this is, I mean, there's no question whatsoever that Karen wasn't driving the car. It's just impossible. It wasn't possible to begin with.
Yeah. And it's a good point because every time you hear someone that claims Karen did it, they always point to the key cycle. And to me, I don't know as much about it as you do, clearly, but to me, it was just a non-issue because I know that there was no collision between the SUV and John O'Keefe on that morning at that time. And this, because it has no time, is so subjective and not really conclusive in any manner, right? Because like even when we're talking about it, we don't know it that well enough to say it in a simple form, right? You and I are like stumbling through this.
Well, here it is. Wait. Karen's driving Jen's to Meadows, got sectioned. Bill Reed took her back to Meadows, drove to Dayton. 1162 is onto the tow truck. 1163 is off the tow truck. 1164. Beautiful. Thanks, Emily. Thanks for the $10 too. You're a lovely human being. No, so you were right, because she and I were talking about this earlier. Absolutely. And it always made sense, right? Because one of the things that happens if you watch the tow truck really closely is that the tires get stuck because of the snow.
Right.
So it makes sense that he would hit the gas pedal at 87% and then you get the tires to rotate, right?
Right.
So, but what's really clear when you consider this particular piece of information is how much, number one, the Commonwealth must have known that they had no case. And then the judge also knew that they had no case, right? So, I mean, this is as clear as it gets. Like, there's no way around it. Every key cycle is recorded by this car. It's exactly the number of key cycles that this car has ever turned, right? And there's no way around it. So it's just totally ridiculous.
I won't go as far as saying that the judge didn't know they had a case or not. Really, it's not her position in theory, unless it's so egregious that she has the ability to dismiss the case, right?
But it is.
But it is what?
It is that egregious.
Right. I understand what you're saying, but really remember that the jury is hearing key cycles and they're zoning out quicker than I'm zoning out. And I've been in this case for 2.5 years, right? If you're sitting on the jury, you weren't able to figure out how to get off the jury, you're not understanding this key cycle data at all. It's going in one ear and out the other in both trials. So I get it. And it's critical information because it literally is telling you what the vehicle is doing. The only issue is it's not pinpointing time. It's based upon that stupid key cycle when it's turned on and off. So it's not that great of evidence. As you can see, one way or another, it's not helping us. And it doesn't necessarily prove whether or not Karen hit John or not, right? Even what we have here, it doesn't give us some indication that there was a collision at any point.
That's correct. In fact, this car would have told us if there was a collision.
Right. That's what I always thought too. And then again, to go to that, I can't say that definitively because I always heard that this particular model didn't have that on. I actually went down this rabbit hole at one point with regard to this model. It does, like it would tell you, because I recall that, it was the key cycling wouldn't tell you. There was something that I wanted the key cycles to tell me, and it just doesn't record that. I forgot what it was now. I don't even want to say it because I don't recall right now exactly. But I went down this. I wanted that key cycle to definitively tell me. But in the end, that's not how they won this case. And practically, it really is irrelevant to what occurred on that night. Right?
That's true.
You can, right? Because I'm way past that, right? I'm zeroing it in on where this other documents that you receive with regard to who, Higgins, and analyzing what happened. But to your point, do you recall when Proctor said, well, maybe I could have asked some other people some questions to make it appear as if I'm doing a better investigation?
Of course.
That's not exactly what he said, but his point was the only thing
different.
But the only thing that he would have done was to do something in the law we call pretext, which basically is doing something to appear as if you're doing a good investigation, but it's the real reason is you don't care. They didn't care. They knew Karen was guilty, and they didn't care. So when we go to the Higgins investigation or lack thereof, it's because they don't care. When they're interviewing these witnesses, they don't care. They already know who the killer is. And I'm not saying they're doing it on purpose. I have always said that they were fucked with by Brian Higgins, Brian Albert, and Chief Berkowitz. And those three made it so clear for them.
I don't think you're right about that, but I think you're dramatically reducing the number of people who have culpability. And I understand we don't need to get into this now. It's a very big discussion, but there is absolutely no question that they're lying. Like, at the very least, you have a group of people who've commit perjury and you have to ask why. So
yes,
but there's another thing though that came out. Now, I didn't see this with my own eyes, so I'm only telling you this based on what I saw on Twitter or X. There was some document in this Sharky dump where Michael Proctor appears to have not been on the on-call schedule and was put on the case deliberately. Now, I didn't see this with my own eyes. This might be a rumor, so I don't know for sure. But if that's true, that's a problem for the Commonwealth, right? Because they all testified that he was on the on-call schedule. It was absolutely non-intentional. He was supposed to take over at 7 a.m. and be on call. So if he was deliberately handpicked to be in that spot, that's really a very different situation, right? Because he's the one that legitimately has family ties to the Alberts.
Yeah, but I am not going there now in my mind. One, because I don't want to, and I don't need to, by the way. I don't need to have Proctor involved. And I get that you want to do that, but if you say that somehow they anticipated potentially Proctor being able to swap in the event that someone he knows gets killed by someone that he's related to loosely, it's a stretch, right? Because you're talking about like 7 a.m. and
well, what it would have meant was not really, because what it would have meant was Kevin Albert. Like, so you have to. I think what I'm learning, and this is why it does directly relate to the case. There's a couple of things that I don't want to give it away too soon, so I'm not gonna get into the details now because I have my grand finales coming, and wait till you see this shit. But you just can't. You can't believe you can't. But anyway. I think one thing we do have to consider is if I think what happened, I do think they all know what happened. And I think that there is very clear evidence to support it. And the problem is we've all been using our bias and putting it on this case, right? And it makes sense because we all do that all the time. And myself too. I spent 3 years with a freaking elephant in the room I ignored, right? That aside, Part of the reason.
That's how you refer to the ex-husband now?
As a bias?
No, the elephant in a room?
Oh, no. It made sense, though, to me at the time. But part of the reason why you have to understand the connections to the police and to the local politicians. Like, for these people in the town of Canton, you do have to consider, like, Kevin Albert was with the chief of police and Brian Higgins the day this happens, potentially, right? Like, they were together traveling to New York. That's what it appears like. I can't verify those photos. Some people online are saying, oh, no, they're from a different funeral. I don't give a shit either way. But if those are really from the funeral, which could be, it looks like it could be. It's certainly a New York City funeral with lots of police. That's insane because, again, we are ignoring something really important, which these relationships were close. And to my point, there was no world ever at any time for any reason that Michael Proctor was going to assert authority over Brian Albert or Brian Higgins. Never, ever, right?
100%.
None of them were. And that's important to just name, I think.
Which is odd because in the hierarchy of police, aren't troopers generally higher than a regular officer?
I think so, but this was like Boston PD. Boston PD is kind of like NYPD. They have no idea because most people in Boston think that they're like on par with New York. New York is 4 billion times bigger, right? They have 2,000 police officers in Boston. We have 40 or 50,000 police officers in New York City, I think. We're just a much bigger city, and it's really hard for people to like conceptualize that, right? But I think Boston has this like reputation amongst themselves of being like the tough guys. Brian Albert wasn't just a Boston cop. He was like the fugitive elite task force, right? Famous for busting some huge cases in Boston locally, like the Boston Strangler, whatever. So I think it was also like his reputation precedes him, and Michael Proctor was, much less senior in the hierarchy of things, I think.
100% agree. I know someone who's like a Proctor where they're generally okay guys, but they're not alpha, let's say. They will be subservient to people that have more experience, more authority than them. And I can see that in Proctor's eyes. And again, I still don't even think that they needed to involve Proctor. I think it would be so risky for Brian Higgins and Brian Albert to bring in any state trooper so quickly. You got to remember that they need to act quickly, and they did. By 6 o'clock, they had the pieces over at 34 Fairview. So they would have to flip Proctor quickly. I mean, within hours. And the strong relationship is what you're saying, is that Kevin Albert, Brian Higgins, and Berkowitz. Like 100%. Those are the guys that would do this. To risk everything on involving Proctor this quickly without even feeling him out or really, really knowing him.
Oh, no. I want to be clear. There's no way that Proctor
had.
That. No. Proctor didn't. They didn't. No. I'm not saying he had direct knowledge. I want to be clear. He didn't have to. Like they didn't have to tell him, right? Like, in other words, he's not a super smart guy, and all he had to do was like believe that, yeah, Karen's the bad guy. So I think he thought that he was doing like justice. I really do.
Oh yeah, no, he does, and you can tell by his text messages that he does.
Right, but I mean, those guys manipulated the situation so that he thinks that they're innocent.
Right. But to me, the issue with this case now is that because Karen focused on the Proctor issue initially, and I get why they did it, but
they had to,
everything was focused, and it was so easy to say, oh my God, this guy's the worst guy in the world. He's not. He didn't kill John. He didn't cover up this at all. It was impossible. Like, we're talking about murder compared to saying words, right? I think a lot of his words are just bullshit guys, white suburban guys talking with each other. I'm not even going to care what I hear unless it's really in the context of something that has to do with this case, right? Sharing pictures of victims, of course, it's dumb, but it doesn't prove this murder here. But we're about to go into this distraction, and it's great for Brian Higgins because a lot of it is focused on him. But I still see Karen, even in the lawsuits, even in everything really, the focus is still on this guy Proctor, as opposed to the people that I believe that really did it.
I think we're probably going to see in the lawsuit that's coming very soon. They're waiting for some, like next week, I think it's dropping on the town and on the police. Hopefully it also includes all of the supervisors who failed to do anything, failed to be aware, and just naming the culture at large, right? You're right. But also to your point earlier, that's where the money is. So it makes sense why she's got to kind of focus on the police and their ineptitude. And clearly, they need a new DA in town because this guys, don't ever forget, this isn't just the Massachusetts State Police. This is the DA's police, right? It was his cops. And the ineptitude in that office is like, it's shocking inept. It's like Joseph Paul, like it's just the dumbest group of cops really the world has ever seen. But that's part of the problem, right? I think that's where this intersects with what you're talking about. It's like they're not super smart. It's not like Brian Albert and Brian Higgins are masterminds. Yeah. I mean, it's right in front of us, right?
I know.
Yeah.
I can't stand when people think like this guy's running. I don't even care what you're running. This guy is not that bright. And Brian Albert, I don't care how long he stares at anyone. Not scared of you, Brian Albert. And well, maybe if I was face to face, I'd run because I'm a big pussy. But that's a whole nother story, right? But I am not scared of him mentally. And watching him lie was so obvious. And Higgins is another person that you could study in what you're doing for the rest of your life, watching those 3 hours of Brian Patrick Higgins testify on, and we're going to see a little bit of that today. We should answer some of these questions before they get too stale on us.
Let's answer some of these. Man, it's crazy. There's so much going on, and it's so interesting just to be going through it right now. It really, really is. Okay. So, hello, got a bad feeling. She sends a super sticker. I think it's a she. I always assume got a bad feeling you're a she. I don't know why. So hopefully I'm right about that. And Miss Emily. Hi, Miss Emily. I know we already read this. At the Trav Abides sends 199. Ever been to the Doritos farm? It's a cool ranch. That's very cute. Cute. Welcome, new member, Mary Podschweit. Welcome, Mary. Hello, Ginny. Good afternoon. Ginny sends 499. She says, Higgy went to CPD. Oh, yeah. good. Right. Oh, we have to talk about this. Oh, see, Ginny, you're so good to bring this up. Higgy went to CPD, saw Good. Good let Proctor know, schedule change, voila, lead investigator. Then they call Lank and the rest is history. So Ginny brings up something you and I were talking about, and that is kind of a big deal. Should we go into this now, or do you want me to keep reading?
Well, where would it go then?
Well, so, Ginny, you bring up that Higgy went to the Canton Police Department. And as everybody knows, as part of my finale, which may end up being 2 parts really, because it's just an enormous amount of information. When you ask a specific question with this case and then you go try to get the answers and you go to everybody to do it, the stuff that comes out is just unimaginable and it just keeps snowballing. So it's very hard to do in any kind of like really short period of time. But that said, one of the things that came very clearly out of this was, and this was like a full review, that Brian Higgins went back to the Albert house after he leaves the police department, and that the police department was an alibi. So the reason he's at the police department, to me, maybe he grabs a bag, a Faraday bag. I doubt it. I think he's only there to get on camera. And one of the reasons that I knew that is because he gave it away. He's like, I'm sure I'm on camera. He testifies. And he's like, I'm sure you can see me. Like, right? Like, why are you saying that? You know, like, so they're not super bright. But the point is that one of the things that everybody kind of caught in Sergio's analysis was that he had talked about the plow and about evidence in the driveway and about the timeline being off. And I do believe all of those things are true. However, I do believe they were after the police department. And one of the things, and the reason primarily that Higgins lawyers up and immediately, the day before the order comes down, tries to destroy his phone, is because of that location data, which certainly would have proved he was directly involved in the death of John O'Keefe.
100%. So you're talking about the fact that he's carrying one, potentially 2 devices that are tracking his location, which are pinging off cell phone towers. And after leaving the police department in Canton, he most likely went back. And I always originally thought that the sweep of the driveway was after he went back to the house after leaving the police department in order to cover tracks, because I originally thought that they moved the body via the car that was out front. That was my original hypothesis. It doesn't mean that it's not true, but you have to get that body from wherever they were storing it to next to the flagpole. If you walk it across the front, one, people could see you, and then there would be footprints as well. So I always thought that they would drive, and I always thought that in their mind, Higgins is going to sweep the driveway and cover the tracks of the car that's moving.
Correct.
So, yeah, and that's very possible, and we always have to remember that. And again, back to the overall theme where you have a lead investigator who solved the case within 15 hours, 17 hours. He's not looking into any of this. It doesn't make a difference to him when he goes to Higgins, and Higgins gives you a printout of text messages that you can get from John's phone. You can get from Karen's phone. He's giving you something that literally is meaningless to you because you can get the actual source data from somewhere else. And then what is he really saying? I don't want to give you my phones. And these idiots right there had the killer sitting right in front of them and those phones. And Higgins outsmarted these 2 dopes by doing it because it makes him appear as if he's being willing with information. But anyone that's in this business would know that there is a motive behind him being so forthcoming with text messages that we can get elsewhere.
Right. So did you read Michael Easter's report? Because that's exactly, he actually says that because he lists all the things. I don't know if you heard it in the open, but I should have grabbed the report. I don't think I have it with me. I might have that section where he says, I would have immediately registered as a suspect Brian Higgins based on his behavior.
So before these shows, we do a lot of prep work, and I wrote it right here. It said, Easter steals my work, because I did see that report, and I see there's only 10 possible suspects. Now, I've been saying that Easter from the beginning, and then he gets into the culpability of someone that lawyers up 4 to 5 days after this event. I didn't realize how impactful that is. Now, everyone says to me, well, you're an attorney. That doesn't mean you're guilty. But when you're an investigator or in this field where you're trying to convince someone, you have to put all that bullshit aside. No, I know for sure that if you're innocent, you're not lawyering up because you don't give a fuck.
And you're an ATF agent. You're an ATF agent.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
I mean, that was kind of Easter's point, too. It was like the context was also what made it doubly sort of shady, right? Like, you're a freaking ATF agent. If you didn't do this, then why would you need a lawyer on the second day 2 days later after this happens?
Yeah, did that little bastard Easter put in a little dog that says, ruff, ruff? I didn't do it. I'm a good dog, too. I mean, he stole my whole entire motif here.
But how interesting. I mean, first of all, Easter's report, LTL made this point, too. Wow, was that damaging. Holy crap. Like, I mean, that thing, with the problem with that report is his credibility. Michael Easter is like such an extremely credible person in a courtroom who's testified 2,000 times. As soon as the jury hears that report would have ended the Commonwealth to me. But that by itself may have ended everything for them.
Sam, I think, though, you should give background as to who is Easter, what was his involvement. I didn't know that he wrote this report. I didn't know that he was retained by the defense. I've seen him on other shows, and him and I sort of had the same thing. I mean, I didn't know he ripped off my entire hypothesis, but I didn't realize that he was retained by the defense at some point.
So, okay, Michael Easter is a former local. So I'm not sure if I think he's from out west. Is he from like Washington State? I don't remember. He's from a smaller town somewhere. He was a local police officer. Then he was a sheriff, became, I think, the acting sheriff of some community at some point. Then he became a federal agent. So he was a Fed for a long time. He also had another jurisdiction. So he has been a cop at essentially every level of investigations. And at the end of his career, he was being brought in to work on like the special investigations because he was a part of that group that was really perfecting how to use new technology like cell phone data and location data and geo-tracking and Google, how to get information from Google and all the servers and all of this. So he was that was his expertise. And I think because of the time frame that he was coming up in, that was kind of a new field. So he really rose to the sort of top of that field and trained other people and the whole thing. So then I think he retires from law enforcement and starts being a consultant. He still consults. So if you have like a federal investigation or even a local investigation, I believe, I think he consult for the Utah murder case. I can't think of his name right now.
But you're talking about.
Yeah, I think he did consult on that case. So he'll get brought in as a consultant to help out with cases. So in between trial 1 and 2, Michael Easter was speaking out on this case, just talking about the absurdity and how unbelievable what was going on was. And then eventually, before trial 2, Karen's team retained him to put a report together and then tried to bring him in. This was at this point, they weren't sure if they were going to go with the third-party culprit defense again. And they were given the ability to do a partial third-party culprit for the second trial. They wound up not using it because they went with no accident really almost exclusively. So, but the judge would not allow Michael Easter to testify. And her rationale was that, well, it's obvious her rationale, and this was really her rationale. This is truly what she said. Well, it's obvious that they were like the solo cups, the incompetency was clear. And so we didn't need an expert to come in and testify.
This is what I say to a lot of people is that you may think, oh, Bev was being such an asshole there. We know that Karen won, right? Her objective was to get off, and she did. And had he came in, who knows what would have happened. So in the end, it all benefited Karen with regard to what her main objective was. So we can't always be so obtuse in our thinking that this judge is so against us, because in the end, whatever they did collectively
didn't work.
Yeah, and it worked for Karen. And I was the one saying that they should call Higgins, they should call Brian Albert, they should call Proctor. I was in the wrong mindset, right? It wasn't in the, I need to get this woman off mindset, which I generally can't do. So I was totally wrong with regard to that. And you have to be cognizant of that fact, because that's one thing. We're here now tasked to solve this murder, not to get Karen off.
Exactly. And that's I think that's an important point for those of us that are investigating this case now. Karen's team had a much different agenda. I'm just ignoring the sexual innuendos. I hope you realize that. Her team had a completely different objective and headspace and agenda, but it pisses me off, Vince, because they really, like, when you look at this objectively, and I mean objectively, because objectively, like Michael Easter, he doesn't have an investment in whether Karen Reed wins or loses this case. This is just a professional, law enforcement professional who's looking at this case and going, this case it really should never have been brought.
Well, hold on. Is he getting paid by the defense to write this report?
Well, he wasn't initially.
But so he has a definition of vested.
No, now, but I'm talking about before. Like, the reason why they brought him in was because originally he was being brought on, like, let's say, news programs to speak about the case, and he was saying clearly, like, yeah, whatever's going on, there's something wrong, because this is not how investigations are conducted. So he wasn't hired by them and then started talking publicly. It was really the other way around. He was publicly supporting.
And I guess this all goes back to pretext and the fact that they solved this case within 17 hours. So everything else that they're doing is just for show. And that's really what Proctor believes, because he was so honest in that interview. Because if you did something wrong, you would say, yeah, and I learned from it, and that's okay. You want people like that. His only thing that he could have done wrong was, maybe I should have just asked more people to make it look like I did more, make it look like. So in their minds, they had already solved this case. Talking with Brian Higgins, the fact that you're sitting next to that fatso and he has an attorney in 4 to 5 days, and no one else does, not little Colin Albert, not even Brian Albert, because I think Brian Albert in his mind has separated the fact that he didn't do it, right? Like, he's saying John knocked him out, he hit the back of his head, he's dead there. So anything else is not really a major crime in Brian Albert's mind, assuming that he's not there. If you're saying that everyone saw it, then it's a different story. But if it was just Brian Higgins, the only one of those 10 with the motive, right? If he's the only one that knocked John
That's not
out,
what happened.
All right, I'm just saying, if it is.
But it isn't.
Right? But if it is, then I think he can separate. Now, I told you, I changed my opinion based upon what you've shown me, that those two girls, Sarah and Julie Nagel, would and could lie. Initially, when I'm seeing this case, I fell for the fact that there's no way these two girls would ever be able to stand up to this scrutiny, right? I still don't believe that they knew or saw. That's
they did,
based
on
my evidence. Right. All right, I get it. I got my opinion here. We get it. I've been told by the editors to be quiet when you laugh, because they love when you laugh.
Okay.
Yo, these Indian guys love you for some reason. I guess they're looking at between me and you.
That might be true, and I might have already known that just from my own experiences, but go ahead.
What, that Indian guys like you?
Yes.
How would you know that?
Because I live in New York City, and there's a large population of Indian people, and whenever I'm around Indian men, they want to give me pencils and help me do things. I don't know why.
No, I love Indian women. I think they're the most beautiful women on earth. Like, if you've had to rank what I'm attracted to, and even Corey agreed with me that too, because I love speaking with Corey when we speak about women. We could talk about like the type of women we like. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know why we got onto the programmers. So they're looking at me, looking at you, but they like when you laugh and keep going with the laughing. And I keep interrupting the laughing, so I'm trying to not do that when we actually get into that.
Okay. So, well, go ahead.
So then we're talking about Easter, and he gave you all the wrong things. But again, I think he's got to understand, and he probably does, that they didn't care about this interview. They didn't care about finding anybody else. I mean, he says that in this report. I wish we can get it. We probably get it somewhere, because I saw it.
I have it.
Yeah, just like even just his bullet points. And, he ripped them off from all my shows, obviously, and then got paid by the defense. How much do you think they paid him?
It's a great question. Probably, I would say he probably took I don't know. I was going to say 10,000, but I might be way off. I have no clue.
Yeah, it can range. And Aiden said that he interviewed with an attorney. Now, I'm not sure if this was for the defamation case, but they wanted a $3 million retainer.
It was for the defamation case.
For I mean, if you offered those idiots at some point $100,000, they would settle. This is like a weird thing with Aiden, because Aiden's not the big money defendant in this case. It's Karen eventually, right? Even though she's living with her mom, she will have millions of dollars. You can mark my words on this based upon all these lawsuits. Yep. So the fact that this attorney asked for $3 million and he's not even a large firm, it's a stupid business move by him too, because at least work with the client to, he doesn't have $3 million and he thinks maybe we can fundraise for that, but it's just dumb. Like even Bob Alessi's firm wouldn't charge $3 million up front, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah. Well, I think he just wasn't going to do it, and he threw out a number knowing he wasn't going to pick him, right?
I guess. I've done that before. Like, if you really, really want me, then you have to pay this.
Exactly.
Hourly. Yeah, but I don't know if that guy's in that position. And then he's not the one you want. You want someone that has the capability, but that is willing to put in the energy and not just do it for the actual dollars.
Yeah, no. I mean, it'll be interesting to see who he eventually selects. I don't know all the Massachusetts attorneys, so I probably don't know any better one way or the other. But he said he did select an attorney, and I'm sure we will find out, at some point. I'm trying to. So the problem with this is there's 3,494 documents here.
That's it.
And I know it wasn't in the first 150. Let me see if I can find it.
Tell Emily to. I saw someone send me the link on Twitter. These girls always accuse me that I'm on Twitter or X, whatever it's called. Actually, they sent me a screenshot of it.
Hold on.
Just the report. Yeah, it was just
they did of just the report.
Yeah.
And I might be able to find it here. It's really interesting though to get all of this. Like we get the full CARS report with all the images. You get all the cell phone stuff. It was also really interesting to hear Easter talk about that, which is something that I do want to mention. One of the things that comes up in Michael Easter's report is him saying you have to be careful with the cell phone data, because when you're talking about just taking the data from the Celebrate report, you have to verify and validate the data. Yep. And I'm going through the data now. And one of the things that I've learned from this case, and I'm sure I picked this up, from whoever, Aussie or, that of course you have to keep in mind that whatever time, whether it's a location stamp or stairs or anything that has a time assigned, happens after the thing happens. Because it can't get stamped until the thing happens, right? And then it's a window. So it is important to keep that in mind, though, because when we're trying to assess activity, we have to also just be cognizant that the time we're getting is going to be after the thing happens, just to keep it in mind.
No, it's important. Then even knowing that it's a different time zone, when people make those mistakes a lot of times in court and they don't even realize that it's not giving you the actual time zone. But you're right. If you went up an incline according to your health data, it's not contemporaneous with you actually doing it. It takes a few seconds, sometimes a minute, to actually record it. And that was said by Richard Green, I think, in one of, actually no, it was by Sir Ian Whiffen, who said that when he went up or down a flight, that it would record 10 to 15 seconds later.
I'm just looking at this right now. There are a lot of interesting things in here. They're just interesting. If you're a fan of this case, you definitely will want to check this stuff out. It's all these emails. What this actually is emails back and forth, and in those emails are exhibits and case documents, and Jessica Hyde is emailing Brian Tully and saying, Alan Jackson reached out to me. What should I do? I mean, just the whole thing.
Yeah, it was weird because Jessica Hyde is someone I haven't reviewed. And actually, I did promise Emily that I wouldn't watch it. And I heard Turtle Boy either talking about it in the past or now saying that she's Jewish, but she's acting as if she's Muslim with her head garb. And I don't know how long ago that was, or if that was today's show or whatever, but I have that same type of observation. Just a strange cat she is.
Wait a minute. Two things. One, Jews believe that women don't need head garb because women already, that's why when you go to, that's why men wear yarmulkes and women don't. So It doesn't make any sense. However, the yoga community wears white on their head for the same reason, actually, which is kind of odd that the Jews don't, that the women don't in Judaism, because the Jews believe that women are closer to God, and that this is like the how God comes in, I guess. Really, this is me giving you like the very like the Cliff Notes,
the half and half version, yeah. And then of course, like the Hasidic Jews are all wearing beautiful wigs too. They're not even showing their real hair.
Right. So that's a different thing, though. It's not about hair. It's about like the top of your head is where like your spirit comes in and out of. I guess I don't know. Where like God consciousness comes in. I'm thinking. But
were you
the
married
hair,
in any type of religious ceremony?
I was. Yeah.
What type?
I was Jewish.
Me too. Well, it's like
Wow.
it was fake Jewish. We were at a place, right, a country club, but we had a rabbi. I don't think we had anything else. Yeah, because I wore a yarmulke for like 10 minutes, a little small one.
Oh, wow. Yeah. No, we had a religious ceremony because we got married in Mexico. So we had to have the legal. So in other words, we had to have a legal ceremony in the United States first, and then got married in Mexico.
Mr. B allowed you to get married in Mexico?
Oh, it was great. Are you kidding?
No,
It was like the greatest wedding.
But
I
Mr.
can't
B
find
allowed
this.
it?
I don't know why he wouldn't. This was a while ago.
I see. He's an Italian. You never know what their rationale is, but sometimes they're against certain things. Like he has to have it in. But then again, he married a Jew anyway, so I guess he wasn't that concerned.
No, not when it comes to that kind of stuff. No, we just had to pick a time of the year that he could do. So I don't know. I can't find it. Let me see. Maybe Emily can just give it to me.
Oh, you had to pick a time of year that Mr. B could be available?
Yeah, that wasn't like going to conflict with like the Jets football season.
Or his jogging schedule.
Not jogging, no, football.
Obviously.
Yeah. We'll find it. Let me see.
Yeah, you know what? You don't have to waste your time doing this. We'll maybe do it at the break or something. I don't want to.
Yeah, let's try to
keep
do it
you
then.
Unfocused. I shouldn't even ask you for it because we didn't prepare for it.
Let me read some of these too. But thank you, Ginny, for that, because you're absolutely right. I think that was something we were both kind of been thinking a lot about with the Brian Higgins stuff. Got a bad feeling. Sends 9.99. Hi, Sam. You're so smart, sweet, and funny and beautiful. Thank you. Got a bad feeling. You too, Vince.
Yeah, right there.
Love you both. Thank you for all you do. I know you put your entire heart into your work. Well, you are absolutely right. And this case, man, I'll tell you, it's a tough case. It just is, right? Like, it gets you. It gets you. And then I'm tired of these people. I'm tired of staring at Jen's lying face. I'm tired of staring at Brian Higgins and his stuttering on the time of the murder. I'm tired of Brian Jr. and his performing. I'm tired of Caitlin and her absolute bullshit. I'm tired of Tristan. And Tristan was not at any time, ladies and gentlemen, at 34 Fairview on the night in question. I'm going on the record. He wasn't there. Neither was Allie, by the way. Because these people were not there. Anyway, but the point is, I'm tired of them. I'm tired of their lying. I mean, Sarah. So one thing I have to say, because it's on my mind right now and I have to say it. Sarah Levinson's role from trial 1 to trial 2. First of all, I spent months looking at Sarah Levinson because I knew that if I could sense deception, if I could get the right baseline, then I would be able to see what's really going on. But I knew that it was going to require really focusing. And sometimes it's hard for me to do that, as you know. Sometimes I just don't have the focus to do a baseline properly because I'm all over the place. You've really got to focus on their faces. You got to focus. So baseline Sarah trial 1, she's completely frozen. Shoulders are down away from her head. She only moves part of her face like that, right? Then in trial 2, you could probably just pick it out of the top of your head from what you have seen, even if you don't remember it. She's like seriously, like to the point where you're like, wait a minute, wait. What is going on right now? So then it dawns on me, because again, this is why these people get us. This is why they were able to deceive us for so long, Vince, because we're not all paying attention. Not that we should be. Who should be? I mean, how many of us are going to spend hours on each one of their testimonies, right? It took me 2 years to catch the sun in the Marines. It took me 2 years. And the only reason why I caught the discrepancies between the sun and the Marine story was because when you hear it, you hear the general story. All you hear is photos, sun, Marines. So I had to be like literally laser focused on the absolute like verbs of each person in the story. And it took me 2 years to figure that out. So anyway, the point is that you have to really be focused, and it's very hard to do this. It's a lot of time and effort, and who the hell has this kind of time besides me and you right now to do this, right? I mean, in order to do this, by the way, like I have to give up pretty much 90% of everything else. Like the dishes in the sink are not done. Like I'm lucky if I vacuumed the rug yesterday. You know what I mean? Like you have to dump your whole soul into this to do it right. And what Sarah, I finally realized, like, oh, Sarah's telling the Julie story. Julie Nagel didn't testify in trial 2. And when I really focused on what Sarah's saying, Sarah's giving us Julie's part. And it was so obvious that that's what was going on, because in my head, I'm going into her trial 2 testimony going, why are you a completely different person? And I'm really asking, like, why are you a completely different person? Why are you showing up like this? Like, what is going on here? And that's what it was. Like, she had to give us Julie's story.
When did she tell us that her mom didn't like her shoes? Was that trial 1 or trial?
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. I didn't realize that Julie Bagel didn't testify in trial 2. What was Hank's reasoning for doing that?
Because Hank is smart.
No, I know. So what's the reason?
Well, I mean, he didn't say, but obviously the reason was Julie's a terrible liar. I mean, Julie might be the worst liar of any of them. She is so overwhelmed with emotion when she lies. When she tells the story about Chloe, which I don't want to talk too much about now, but when she tells the story, she literally has to back up, get her shit together, and like recenter. I mean, she's an emotional person. She's not super sophisticated. And so when she's lying, which is throughout the entire testimony, it's really transparent. And if you're Hank Brennan, you see it. I mean, he's no question. He saw it.
Speaking of that, I don't know if you want to get into it now, but I had told you last week, I thought that Higgins was reading the text message at 12:20 a.m. and lying to us at the same time. But I couldn't recall, because I know he had said, are you coming here, multiple times throughout his testimony, but I think we found it. It's just a short clip if we can go through it, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I got to pull it up. There's another thing I want to say about that too. Okay. I know we have things to read. I don't want to forget to do that. The other thing about that, so there's some important information in there, and I don't know if I want to give it all away now, but there's as you said, there's more than one time that Brian Higgins is deceptive about the "you coming here" text. The exact verbiage is "you coming here," ? But he does not purport it that way during the trial, during his direct testimony, right? And even when he's reading, because this happens at least twice during direct. So the first time, he's not reading the text, they're not in front of him, he's telling us the story of being at 34 Fairview. The second time, he's got the text in front of him, and he misrepresents it again. It's a little different. And there's a reason why, Vince. There's a reason why. So this is an important text message for Brian Higgins. That's why. Let me pull up this I can get really quick. This one is right here. Hold on.
We need Easter to come on our show. I don't know if they're going to hire him for any of the civil cases. Probably would. But
do they need him? Can you use the reports?
Or him. You're going to need someone to explain why it's negligent supervision, why they failed in multiple facets. So yeah, you're going to need someone like him.
You can't just use, but could you just use the report or no?
No, I mean, because you need to substantiate who actually wrote it.
I see. Of
technically, it's hearsay. It's an out-of-court statement being offered as truth here, but we don't know. So as an expert, he can do it, but he has to be the actual
hired.
Expert. Yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't. He's a good-looking guy. He speaks well.
Oh,
and he seems to have his heart into it. That good looking. Now, what do you mean these Indians give you pencils?
My daughter my daughter. Every time we drive back and forth to Connecticut a lot, and we'll stop at different convenience stores, and it just happens that in this tri-state area, lots of Indian people own convenience stores. And anytime we go into a convenience store and there's an Indian man that's working, or like a Dunkin' Donuts, like we get free donuts. It's just completely, I have no idea why. It's totally innocent. Like we just walk in and there'll be like a smiling man at the register and he's like, free donut, so so my daughter eventually picked up on it. And one of the times that we walked into a convenience store, she needed a pencil. This guy, there was no pencils sold in the store. He literally spent 10 minutes looking in the back of the store to give us a pencil. And my daughter was like, Mom, what the heck is with these Indian men? I'm like, I don't know. So it's a little joke between her and I. It is actually funny that you said it because of that.
Yeah, let her know that it's not Indian men. It's when you're a good-looking woman, you get these type of things. I mean, this is nothing novel that I'm saying.
But it is.
Put it this way: I never gotten a free donut ever when I walked in the Dunkin'. Never.
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 No. Was that?
I think they charged me double. No, for the other day actually, I went in. I haven't been there in a while, Dunkin' Donuts, and 2 donuts was $4.69.
I don't even know.
How crazy! Yeah, exactly. You don't know. They just give it to you for free. Like you have to pay for donuts.
I don't eat donuts, so I don't know.
Yeah, I got it for the kids, but then I said, no, I'm not paying $4.69 for 2 donuts.
Yeah, that is crazy. I guess.
So I just got 2 like real bagels for like the same price that I just happened to walk by Dunkin' Donuts. But
everything
I got my
is expensive,
coffee.
though.
No, but it was weird though. $4.69 for 2 of those crappy ass donuts.
It's true. They are expensive. All right, here we go. You ready? I will.
Yeah.
Play.
So just to set this up, we're going to talk a little bit about the text message timing. You see January 16th there. That was the morning after the Patriots game where him and Karen are texting. Then we're going to get into the January 29th text message. And then after this, just a little treat for you, Sam. I have some questioning of Higgins where he's asked a yes or no question, but he gives you his little story. But that's towards the end.
Fun. Okay, here we go.
And that indicates about 9:33 in the morning.
Yes, I see it. It says TF, hurting like this in 10 years. Haha. I'm not sure who's saying that.
Not sure who's hurting and who's saying haha.
Well, I know I was definitely hurting that morning, but I'm not sure who was saying that.
What, if any, other communication is there later on in the same chain?
I see, John. Was it necessary to introduce Hennessy XO? Was I really playing video games? That would have been me. And then it says, I blame Karen. Yup. I said, please tell me I didn't break your nephew's video game. If I did, I'll replace it. Did I throw a controller or some shit? WTF, I'm hurting. How can you guys not be still in bed?
Is that the end of that bit of conversation?
It appears to be, yeah.
Then the next conversation begins on what's indicated as Saturday, 12:20 a.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is it your recollection that that was January 29th?
Yes.
Is that the message that you sent to Mr. O'Keefe while you were in the residence at 34 Fairview Road?
Yes, I said, are you coming here with 3 followed by 3 question marks?
All right, Sam, if you just pause it for a second. I was able to spot what he was reading. So when Corey got the production of these text messages, they came in color. So on the left, what you see there is the actual text message, but it's very small. And then to the right is the text, but it also has additional text that's sort of irrelevant. Like I'll say the name of the picture file. And then it does have, are you coming here in there, which I'll show you. But this is just to confirm that he's looking at what we got, but they didn't print it out in color. They just printed it out in black and white.
Okay. And he read it. Are you coming here?
Yes.
Are you coming here?
What is the significance of adding "are" to "you coming here" followed by 3 question marks?
Yes. What is the significance? Do you want me to say it or do you want to say it?
How the hell do I know?
Well, there is there is definitely a difference.
Obviously.
Yeah. So "are" is, are you coming here? You coming here is like, you coming here, right? And this is such a huge discussion, Vince. I mean, it's a really big discussion. And right now, it is a really important discussion, right? So Sergio De Niro hypothesized that this text, and he was very adamant about this, that this text message came after the murder. He's adamant. I mean, believe me, I've studied this and I am on it right now. In fact, when I get off with you guys, I'm going to immediately go right back to it because the language on this is critical. Now, I went back to Sergio because I'm at the end of this story. And I'm like, I spent, a year and a half listening to Brian Higgins' analysis by Sergio Gennaro because I wanted to learn what he was doing. And so I would go to sleep listening to it at night. But it had been a year and a half since I heard it. So I thought, you know what, knowing what we know now, I wonder if we go back, if the information still holds or if we know new things and if that helps update what he's saying. And it certainly did. I mean, it was tremendously helpful taking what I know now and then what he's saying and sort of merging it together and realizing, holy crap. And there was a lot of those holy crap moments. There will be more. But one of the things that he's adamant about is because of the language and in front and around him reading this text, which at that time in the statement, Vince, he doesn't read as, are you coming here or you coming here? He reads as, where are you? Now that's important. And at first, when I first pointed this out to you, I thought that would be because you coming here sounds like a threat, like you coming here or what, right? But actually, according to Sergio, it's the other way around. It's where are you? Because in Brian Higgins' mind, the reason for the text is to make it clear to the world outside that John O'Keefe is not in the house. Does that make sense?
I got you, and I get it. And Sergio is great, and he'll admit that this is not a perfect science.
I know where you're going to go. Wait. I know where you're going to go, and I have to say, let's leave that aside for a second, because I think there's some problems with what you're going to say, and I want to just leave it to the side for a second.
Okay.
Because I don't want to get into the whole thing. But let's just say that the time situation isn't an issue. Right? Let's just say it's not an issue. I know that it is. Well, let's say it isn't for this discussion. I guess just looking at the language, because that's what I'm trying to figure out. It's a very narrow window, guys, one way or the other. It's one way or the other. Either this text is after or before, period. It's one way or the other. But it's right around it. It hugs it, right? So that's the question. The question is it possible that this text is you coming here, or is it where are you?
Agreed. If we don't have timestamps and anything else, it would be a nice thing to say to help Higgins out, saying, where are you guys? I couldn't have killed you. I've never seen you. And here's my text. Right. Where are you? But always remember that there is 13 days of gap between what we just saw, that last morning text, and you coming here, for some reason sent to Brian Patrick Higgins, not to anyone else, specifically Karen.
Oh my God, Vince, that's so important. Say that again.
There's 13 days between the last text message that he sent to John and vice versa to this particular day in the morning. 13 days have elapsed where there was no communication via text between the two. And right at the end of this, we're going to show you the texts that were going on the day before, not the 16th, the 15th, and how close and casual and friendly these two were. But there was literally nothing up until now. So even if he was saying, you coming here, it would be very suspect. Let's say he did send it at 12:40. It would still be very odd for him to text John O'Keefe that. It would be clear he's trying to set up some sort of a motive or an alibi, really, that he never saw John. He couldn't help himself here. And Sergio, in fairness to him, he did such an amazing job with so little data, right? Like,
he did.
He didn't even have the video from the waterfall for which we see what actually transpired. He got all that. I could not believe what I was listening to without having this data. I'm only saying this because we have data to back this up, and these times are very definitive. All right, so
I mean, that's why I spent the last 2 years studying everything he says, because
he's great. He'll admit that
But there's
it's not
limitations.
right. Exactly.
And
here just
and we have more information now than he did then. Like you're
100,
saying.
like so much more. There's
So
no
much
way I
more.
couldn't even come close to what he was doing.
Right.
And that's not my job. I don't do that. I don't do what he does. But
Right.
the overall vibe of not talking to someone for 13 days and then happening to text them literally just minutes before they're about to die, and you're one of the 10 suspects. Little Colin Allen didn't text John O'Keefe. No one in the house besides Jen texts John O'Keefe. So
Right.
there was only one text, and there was such a gap, and it's so obvious that there's something nefarious in what he's doing. This point here is just to show that he's reading what we're going to see. That may help you with regard to, it's not just, are you coming here? There are other words. We're going to see it in the next frame where, there could be something plausible to it.
Let's
meaning
see.
that
All right.
Yeah, again.
Should I play it?
Mm-hmm. All right, that's just to show you that it's matching up. It's not exact, but all right, here's what he actually saw. So this is what he's reading. Now, see all these other words? That's what he was reading on the stand. If you zoom it out, you're getting the full page of it.
Mhm.
But you coming here is pretty clear there, and it's under the Saturday 12:20 a.m. So there's no "are you coming here" at all. It's on the same line. Sorry, it's on its own line. All right. So psychologically, he added that word, which changes the whole context of the phrase.
It sure does, and he knows it. Everything he's doing is intentional, so he's very aware of how it sounds, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I said, are you coming here with followed by 3 question marks?
At 24 minutes and 59 seconds, the device is unlocked using Face ID, and the message, you coming here.
Yes, I said, are you coming here with followed by 3 question marks?
Message, you coming here, is read at 25 minutes and 8 seconds. At 25 minutes and 9 seconds
Sam?
after midnight, the device is locked using the lock button.
So we know from John's phone that he opens up his phone at 12:25 and 8 seconds and reads "you coming here" and then closes it straight away. We also know that at 12:24 and 38 seconds, Karen's car arrived in front. So he's either checking this in the car or walking up, which I believe he's walking up because there's a very short window because Ricky's truck is right behind them, right? And they never saw John walking. They just saw that he wasn't in it.
Yep,
Right?
that's
so
right.
at some point, he's either in the house or approaching the house and reading this message. That's why I'll say that it's virtually impossible for him to have sent this message after John was killed because we have multiple timestamps, multiple devices giving us the times.
It's
And
not
I know Sergio
impossible. It's not impossible. I'm just telling you it's not impossible. I have been absolutely studying this. It's unlikely for sure, Vince.
Okay.
I'll give you that. But it's not impossible.
All right. And
Okay, so and I'll show you what I mean when I'm ready, but not impossible, unlikely.
Okay.
That's the point. Yeah.
But you know what's
I mean,
crazy, Sam? Think
Go
about
ahead.
this. Something did happen, obviously. Like if you
100%.
visualize right now, 12:25, John just turns off the phone at the reading. Something happened where either Brian attacked him at that house, inside the house. That's what makes this case so intriguing because it's a very small space, very limited amount of people that could have killed John, and it's over a very short period of time.
Very
So, like,
short.
Yeah, it's not that vast. So it's crazy to think that Brian knows. Brian Patrick Higgins knows exactly what happened. Like we're trying to put this all together, and eventually we're going to get there to the very down to the very second. That's why I go back and I go through this, and I'll say to you that at 12:18 in about 40 seconds, Jen is on her phone speaking with John. Right, so Higgins within 2 minutes he's able to hear and send this text message, and John eventually reads it 4 minutes later.
And here's the thing, Vince, because the question that I went into all of this asking, the whole series that I've been working on is called The Innocent. And I went into it asking the question, why is it that at the time between 12 and 12:30, nobody inside the house, anybody at the house, nobody can give you a straight answer about what they're doing in the house? And the reason is because of what you just said. Jen and Matt walk in at 12:18. John O'Keefe is in the house by 12:25. Like, let's say he's in the house at that, right? It's not even 10 minutes after Jen and Matt arrive that this happens. So that's why they can't give you anything more than, I walked in, this person was there, my sister was in the kitchen because she loves to clean. Nobody can give you anything about what happened that's not dishonest, because this happens within 7 minutes from when Jen and Matt arrived at the house. So that is the answer to the question that I went in to try to find out. And it's not Jen's testimony that gives it away. It's not Matt's testimony. It's Jen, Matt, Sarah, Nicole, Brian, Caitlin, Brian Higgins, and Colin. All of them give it away. Every single one. It's absolutely insane. So there's no way that I guess I can say with 99.5% certainty that they all saw what happened. Not that they saw him get hurt, but that they ran in after, because, and this is how I know that, because at a minimum, Jen and Nicole are literally standing right next to the door to the TV room or the family room when Julie goes out. And if you look at the timeline, which we are talking about, right? When Julie goes outside, we know we don't have the seconds on the text from Jen, right? As far as I know, we don't have the seconds on the Ryan Nagel text.
Right. I've never even seen the text.
Right. So we only know that it exists and that it's at the 12:23 time because Jen and Alan Jackson verifies it with Jen. So we know Alan Jackson has that text, and he tells us that he's gotten it in her cell phone data dump. Also, I should ask Aiden this question. Sorry. It's really important. I'll see if he'll give me the answer. So that 12:27, okay, fine. So we know that he's probably not in front of the house. He's probably approaching the house at 12:27.
12:23.
Sorry, 12:23. I'm sorry. Did I say
Right.
12:27? 12:23. And we know, and we know, of course, that they pull in right behind Karen. Fine. And that they're at the intersection at the same time. So we're talking about a 30-second window. Again, all of this happens in about a 30-second window at each point, I think. So that 12:23 time is only important because it gives us a point of reference that we know exists. But again, we don't have the seconds on that time. It could be 12:23:50, right? We don't know. It does matter to this case. So we have the 12:23, and then we have Julie. We also know that Ryan sends a follow-up text saying, I'm going to leave. Now, we don't know what time that is either. All we know is that Jen tells us that. And Jen, by the way, offers that, which is amazing. It's one of the things I love about Jen is that she can't keep her mouth shut. So she offers that. Now, okay, so how long do you think Ryan's going to sit there before he sends that? I'm going to go with 2 minutes. Everybody else says about 2 minutes. And so what we have, when Julie Nagel walks out the house, I am sure, based on Nicole and Jen's testimony, and I can say, you can't, but I can say, I am sure about this, that the two of them tell us that they are standing next to the door when Julie goes out it. And if that's true, whatever happens to John has already happened by the time Julie walks out that door, which is verified by Sarah Levinson telling us in her testimony that they agreed to stay. In other words, they weren't asking to stay. They weren't wanting to stay. They were told and they agreed that they were going to shoo off the brother and they were going to go with Jen and Matt.
Interesting. Now, we veer off when John is approaching the house. I don't believe that he actually gets into the house. I believe that at some point they're on the side out of view of everybody and something occurs. I read something in this report that we just got that the 12:32 movement in John's phone is not steps from the phone, but it's actually from the Apple Health data. Now, I don't know exactly what that is, but supposedly there could be a discrepancy because we know that at 12:32, which will be 8 minutes past this time, John's phone moves, how or what or whatever. And it actually is opened up and he actually does look at a call from Jen. So why I don't believe your
well, he
hypothesis.
doesn't look at a phone. He doesn't know. He answers a phone from Jen.
Okay. Assuming that
Jen
it's him,
denies
he's still alive.
later. No, he's not alive. But Jen answers. So an interest, just so you know, Hank, that call does happen. She tries to delete it. Okay. Hank she originally admits to it in the documents that we just got, because I went through that too. She originally admits to it. In fact, she admits to some crazy stuff that we have to talk about at a different time because I have to go through it again. But her whole story about how Karen came to her house in that period before they get to 34 Fairview appears to be different in the very first days, according to Sergeant Good. I think it's Sean Good that says the different story. It might be somebody else. I think it's Sean Good. But anyway, so there is a 9-second phone call between the two of them at that time. There is. She denies it, Jen, but there is. And again, she tried to delete it. So, and that's a whole nother thing, right? Like, right. So I would just say to you, be very careful. To me, there is no doubt John O'Keefe is dead. He's dead by 12:32, in my opinion. I'm just throwing it out there.
No, I don't think he could sue you for defamation for that.
I don't know why he would want to.
He wouldn't. All right, so let's proceed on here.
Okay.
And again, Mr. O'Keefe, based on your recollection and based on the records you have before, you never responded to that text. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you never saw him after that, correct?
Never again, no.
Can I approach this to retrieve your honor?
Yes.
Oh my God! Look at his face. I can't with this. Sorry, go ahead.
You're the words expert, because you were making fun of that Dr. G guy for the body language stuff, but never again. No. Does that mean anything to you? As opposed
course. I mean, it's first, obviously, he tries to use absolutely. He tries to use never. He says he's never seen Karen again with her, out of his peripheral vision. She's sitting right there. Brian Higgins has a problem, right? But he's not alone, Vince. They all say it, everyone. And they don't say it with any conviction that works either. So it's crazy. It's so crazy. But the other thing that he does have, and this I think isn't body language analysis, we all see it. Brian Higgins is overwhelmed with grief. I mean, and he's an emotional guy. I think he probably has pretty serious PTSD from a culmination of things that happened long before this case, just based on how quickly he can come to tears and in a courtroom and when his life is on the line. So to me, that's somebody who can't control it, right? And it's incredible. And we heard he was crying with Kevin also. And the cops, by the way. So to me, he carries the burden of guilt. And to me, I think the reason isn't because I don't know that he served the fatal blow, but I do think that he was the reason for the fight to begin with.
Obviously.
That's my opinion.
Right. No one else had any motive or incentive to fight with John O'Keefe on this very morning. All right, so then we're going to get into just a little bit of how they were communicating right before. This is on the 15th.
This is on the 15th, okay.
We'll see. All right, so here, if you just pause it for a second.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm trying to pause it. Go ahead.
Okay, so we know that he's texting with Karen, and she's wanting him to come over for the Patriots game. I don't even think he knows how many home runs the Patriots can score. He doesn't seem to be a sports guy at all.
He's not, right?
He's looking to score with one thing, in theory, right? This guy's going nuts for this girl. So if you look at how guys talk, especially white guys in the suburbs, yo, still having a party, 3 question marks. Yep, gay guys and everything. Because guys love doing that, right? Especially if the guy isn't gay. Should I stop by? That's Higgins asking that. Yes, they'll love you. And this gives you an insight into John's type of personality, which I love, right? He's saying that there's gay guys there and they'll love Higgins. And
right.
And then I love Higgins. He's a little dope. Who is they? And then we'll move to the next one.
Is this John? I guess that's John, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's his little emoji guy. How cute is that? Oh, that's sad. This makes me sad. Did I press play? I thought I pressed play. It is playing.
Yeah. Okay. And then John has to tell Higgins the punchline, gay guys.
Hold on, sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. Stop by. And then Higgins does his thing on the way. And then front door, 3 question marks. Yes. So this is January 15th. And we know now that we didn't have any of this. Actually, we didn't have any of this trial 1, trial 2. Sergio didn't have any of this. But thanks to Corey, we all got this. Now, her attorneys had all this. Obviously, Lally had all this. There were months of this. These guys were friends. So when you tell me that he feels emotional about killing John, initially I'm like, well, they didn't even know each other. Why would he care, like as much? But these guys were friends. I mean, if you're calling your friend gay and like the gay guys are going to love you, there's a bond that you have between each other. 100%. Right? And this isn't just like, you don't just say that straight away to some guy you just meet. You don't know what's going to happen, right? So that really goes to the point of that 13 days of no communication up until 12:20 a.m. and 48 seconds where you coming here comes into place. This wasn't...
And think about how much he must have liked Karen for him to have completely been willing to stop all communication. So that's one thing. Like that's guilt, right? Like if you didn't have guilt, why not keep talking to John? The better play is keep talking to John. If their goal is just to have sex with Karen Reed and to like hook up with her, you would still be talking to John O'Keefe because who the hell cares, right? Like you have no allegiance to him in that way, and she's just a hookup. But he stops communication, which tells you that he has real feelings for Karen and that he feels tremendous and overwhelming guilt about what's going on with John. And the fact that John doesn't reach out to him and Karen gave us that, what are you guys hooking up shit? These are really important details, you guys. I mean, these are giving us the story of what happened to John, to me. And you have to read between the lines, like you're saying, Vince, because it's all in the subtext. It's not going to be right in the words. It's underneath the words in this case, 100%.
I'm literally getting the chills. I've said this before, but in a guy's mind, when we're pursuing a girl, it's either we want to hook up with her, and I would classify as a B girl. Like, you want to hook up with her, but you'll keep talking with her, and that's where you would see him still talking to John. It's purely, but there are the rare exceptions where your mind goes nuts and you literally want to be with this girl. And you will forego sex this rare time in your life because you like her so much. And exactly what you just said, I don't know how you know that, because that's a guy's brain thing, and women are different with regard to this, right? It's just a different brain that we're dealing with. So this is what men do. I've done it. I know it. And then, like, I call a C girl as a girl like that you would just hook up with and never want to talk to ever again. Like, so I had A, B, and C. The A girls are the ones, what you're seeing here. That's how he viewed Karen Reed. But unless you're a guy, you wouldn't understand that. And
well, my father's Joe Benigno, though, so I was taught that by the time I was 4 years old. It was like when other people are learning about, like, the president, like, I was being told, this is how men think, this is how men are. You know, seriously, that's not a joke. I'm being dead serious. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I do the same thing with my kids too. I mean, they must have heard penis and vagina 12,000 times how hot this girl is. I say it all the time. We never restricted any language. So yeah, like, I know your dad's more of like trying to warn you because he's basically warning you about himself, right?
He was warning, yes. He was being warning, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I mean, like, he's telling you, look, guys are like me and that's all they want. But it is, but it varies. You know, and when you're in this A category, this is what you do. Yeah, you put all your focus on Karen. And we see where it ended. But the point of this was just to show that there was a relationship, and the fact that there was this gap of time for which they just stopped talking. John had to feel weird because he's, so comfortable. He's saying, oh, look, the gay guys are here. They'll love you. And Higgins doesn't even get the joke. But then they just stop after the 16th. He had to feel something was up for 13 days. And then the next text he'll get is, you coming here, followed by 3 question marks. My God, this case was so easy to solve if you just tried to and you wanted to.
I know.
Imagine you had Higgins text, you had Higgins phones, and if they had the location data on his work phone, and who was he calling at the PD on camera? We don't even know who that was.
I know. It's wild. I know.
Yeah.
And to your point, so and it's even bigger. Because I've been going back. So I went back and we had done a show where we just basically did the whole show on the waterfall video. And then what I did was I went back into that and then added some other things from the trial, just from, witness testimony. And I'm really trying to analyze the hug, or like the greeting that John gives to Higgins, because interesting, Higgins is the first person John approaches. And first person, right? And he does it in this, like we talked about, like open hands, like, hey, right? He's really making an overt gesture to go out of his way to let Brian Higgins know everything is okay, man. Everything's okay. And to me, the fact that he feels the need to do that might be indicative of the fact that it isn't okay, right? Because why else would he be the first person you go to? And you give the biggest greeting to directly.
Yeah, well, naturally, Brian Higgins is the one that John knows the best there, right? It's not Brian Albert or Chris Albert.
But he doesn't talk to him the rest of the time, Vince.
Well, no, that's the issue, right? Because, which makes the you coming here text so suspect, because you're literally together and you're not talking. There's very little communication. It's always with a third party. They were never discussing themselves together alone. And of course, we see Karen making her way all around the bar and eventually getting to that touch, which is all Brian Patrick Higgins needed to understand what was going down. I believe you've been in this situation. I've been in this situation, not exactly, but when you're deceiving people or cheating or whatever, and this is what he needed. And the fact that Karen didn't tell her attorneys this, didn't tell Turtle Boy this, made trial one so convoluted. I mean, we're trying to piece all these people together when the real killer was right before us. And it was that simple. And what is that stupid saying you guys do? The Gillette razor? The simplest answer is the right answer? What is that called?
Razor.
Why do you guys say Occam's razor? What does that mean?
Occam is a guy. His name was Occam. It's not spelled the same way, but I think it's A-C-K. He was a guy, and it was like his theory, right? So I think it came from like the late 1800s. Might have been 1700s, but I have to think maybe late 1800s. His idea was ostensibly what amounts to now the simplest explanation is the best one, but it does not apply in the way that most people try to like insert it, right? What he was saying is like, you don't have to, he's talking, it's based on sort of mechanism and, a dualist view of reality. I mean, the whole thing is like really loaded, and it takes a lot to try to explain and actually get into. That's why I try not to get into it.
I'm just being a little goofy. And there obviously are major dangers with that. This is what Emily would always be so mad about, because my answer when I'm telling the world how simple this case is, it's not because I'm going at it in a flippant way. This is done with the research that I had at the time.
Sure.
And everyone else had their preconceived notions that John was going up and downstairs, that he was beat in the basement, that little Colin Albert had this vendetta against John. They all had that in there.
Yeah.
And so it's like, who's this asshole coming in telling me how simple this case is when I already have it solved? I know that it was John and Brian Albert that beat the shit out of him, and he was beaten, all things like that. But we all have to come and you have to be able to evolve your hypothesis when new information comes in, especially if you're trying to solve cases. Now, if they ever get people in Massachusetts that are tasked with solving crimes, then we wouldn't have to do this.
It's pretty unbelievable that these people have never been, none of these people, you guys, have ever been properly interviewed. Forget about interrogated.
Yeah. And
they've never been properly interviewed, Vince.
But does that go back to the fact that Proctor already made his mind up 17 hours in? Think about it. If you know who killed
of course
John O'Keefe, then how annoyed are you that you even have to drive to Brian Higgins' attorney's house? You have a fucking witness who already has an attorney, and you have to go to his house. And the dude just gave us the biggest motive of all time, generally why anyone kills anyone in terms of humans. He gave it to us, and we took it and said, okay, have a good day. The only one in that house, there's only 10 people that could have killed him, the only one that lawyered up within days. He gives us, out of the kindness of his heart, a string of text messages. And I said, Brian, you know now, we're going to verify this. Of course, asshole. You got him on the other phone. You already have those text messages.
Come on, it's so absurd. They worked in the yeah, it doesn't matter.
The act, I guess Easter is saying, stealing my hypothesis, but the act of giving those text messages is what is suspect, not what's on those text messages. The act of giving them to you at a fucking hearing, preparing for it. He went through and had to hire an attorney to do this. And you know he lied to his attorneys. Guaranteed he never told them anything. I know Brian Higgins type.
He had his friend, like an FBI agent, like hack into some system to give him the text messages to begin with. To bypass.
Good, I'm glad he did it. But Sam, I'm glad he did it. You know why?
No,
because that's so obvious. Like if he gave over the phones and he already had deleted stuff and it was already, then it wouldn't be so obvious. His act of what he believes is covering up. And this last part we're going to see is the Brian Higgins answering of questions, thinking he's cute when he can answer a question yes or no. He always has a cute story. And we're going to just see a little bit of that just to give you a reminder of how great Brian Patrick Higgins is on the stand.
All right, let's go.
Just a minute left.
You went to your office to get a key, correct?
Yes.
And why had you left the key to one of the vehicles in the office?
So as I stated earlier, I anticipated not even being back in Massachusetts, knew the storm was coming, didn't know how bad it was, but I left the key on the desk to facilitate somebody being able to move that.
You go to your office, you get the
That's
key.
a true story, right?
I go back downstairs and I move the vehicles to the center of the parking lot.
All right, so this is so important, you guys, because he's being deceptive and there's deception indicators in here, but he's telling us the truth. He did leave the key so that people could move the cars. And he only goes back to this place to give us an alibi. The reason that he's there is to get on camera primarily. We all had him there to get all this incriminating shit, but the whole reason he's actually on camera, actually moving cars in this stupid parking lot is so he can tell us all, see, look at me, I'm on camera, everybody. I'm not at Brian Higgins' house or Brian Albert's house right now moving the dead body of John O'Keefe, but I'm going to go back there right after this, and that's what I'm going to do as soon as I leave this video camera that I'm on. Hi, everybody. That's what he's doing. It's so
yeah, you're
crazy,
right.
man.
And think about it, because his whole motif is I had to get out of there early. They didn't have any Jameson and ginger. They only had beer. He tells us that he had to be the first one out. I parked and that could be why he's parked at the parking in front of the mailbox. That lie, because I was out of there first. Therefore, it's impossible for me to have killed John O'Keefe because I was gone already. I was the first one to leave. I didn't want to stay there. Yeah, of course. Right? I mean, he's the only one coming up with this big story. No one else.
And Vince, he had to have been out front because he couldn't have put himself back into the driveway after he plows it so that the snow is even in the driveway. He has to move himself. He can't be back in the driveway, right? Because it has to be, the cars have to be aligned in such a way where the amount of snow is equal on the cars. Right? So he can't put his Jeep back into the driveway after they do the plow thing because the cars have to be in such a way where when the police show up 2 hours later, the snow falls equally and it doesn't look like anybody's moved around.
Yeah, and what you're referring to is those cars that are in the actual driveway, and I always try and catch a good view of them, and I never really got it from the cruiser cams, but it is critical because I think there was enough snow to really cover up if it wasn't so uneven. Because I was looking for that one car that was just completely melted. Like, we didn't get that.
No.
Meaning, like, if it was the car that Brian Albert used for his business, there was no snow on it, it would be very obvious. Yeah. So I agree with you. He knows he's on camera. He volunteers that information during this testimony. Again, this is just a snippet of Brian Patrick Higgins and how he utilizes his stories to try and convince you. It's a huge indicator of deception. It's poorly done. His attorney is horrible for allowing him to do all this. And thank God he had such a bad attorney that did not prepare this big boy to testify because he gives us so much.
But you know what, though? It wouldn't have mattered because this is Brian Higgins. I told you, we talked about this, right? He's the firefighter, right? So they have to be the saviors. They have to be the good guys. He cannot stand being the bad guy. He can't stand it. He hates it. That's why he's like, hiding, really. He doesn't, nobody sees him, right? Because he cannot tolerate this. That's why he's partly why he's part of this lawsuit. So I think he would have testified anyway, Vince, because he wants us to believe him desperately, like desperately. That's why he met with Kevin, right? That's why, like,
Yeah.
That's why he wants us to believe him and to see him as like a good guy. No, really, I'm a good guy. I'm not a bad guy. And you know what? I believe that. Like, I do see that in him. I don't think he's a horrible person. I actually think he's handled this the best that you could, given the circumstances, as opposed to some of the others who have, like Jen, who've done a shit job completely by trying to pretend like, no, I'm a normal person and none of this ever happened. Like, they're just trying to front like they don't know anything about any of this, but clearly it's a total colossal mess. He hasn't done that. Like, he's tried, but obviously he's carries it like all the way. He's so guilty. It's really like unimaginable guilt.
Do you want to insert your opinion? This is my opinion, everybody. This is not
that's
a
right.
fact. And by the way, I want to make a quick point.
Sorry,
Right. So Aiden was talking with Billy Bush about this, and Billy Bush's mind, when he was asking a question about defamation, and Aiden, did you say in my opinion or not? Now, actually, Aiden had a cool thing. He said to his kids, when you're writing, don't write in my opinion and then the story. We understand it's your opinion. Attorneys still do this stuff. They write in my opinion. Everything is your opinion. What defamation comes down to is, did you say something that is a fact or something that is an actual opinion? It doesn't matter if you said in my opinion before or after. So there's a difference. Can you prove a fact false? If I say that Samantha is ugly, it's subjective, right? I can't prove it one way or another. And based upon the way the Indians treat you, obviously it's not true, but it doesn't make a difference. Someone may believe that you're ugly, right? So, but if I say Samantha is engaged in a pyramid scheme, that's a fact. Even if I said, in my opinion, Samantha's engaged in a pyramid scheme, that's a fact that can be proven false. That's the difference. So just for Billy Bush, I know he wanted Aiden to say, in my opinion. So really, Aiden's case is going to come down to, did he truly believe what he was saying was legitimate and truthful? And what level are we going to hold the defendants at? A negligence standard, which is a regular person. So even if Aiden believed it, wouldn't a reasonable person believe what he was saying was true? Or if you have them as someone who's in the spotlight, someone who has some form of a public
celebrity
figure. Right. And it could be just for this particular case. Then Aiden had to know what he was saying was false, and he said it anyway. That's where you want to be. That's why figuring out if they're a public figure or not is going to be the crux of this case. And if it's a public figure, the standard's a lot higher. I think Aiden can win even at the negligence standard, given all the information that he had to him at that time. Because I know he didn't make any statements that he didn't believe. Like, he didn't knowingly say something that was false. A fact that was false. Right? So you can say Jen McCabe is ugly, Jen McCabe is a bitch. Those are not facts.
No.
So I just want to say to Billy Bush, saying in my opinion does not save you legally at all, one way or another. It's whether you're saying a fact or whether you're saying something that can be proven as false.
What if you can prove it as a fact, though?
Such as what? Oh, then you win, right? So if it's true, then there's no defamation claim. We all know that. So if you were engaging in a pyramid scheme and I said, in my opinion, Samantha's engaging in a pyramid scheme, you sue me for defamation, I prove that you were engaging in a pyramid scheme, then I have that right to you lose. But that's where this case is going to backfire on them, because by the time we get to the end of this, assuming it's not decided on the papers where judges can potentially do that, then you're going to have the ability to prove that they killed John O'Keefe. Even if he thinks that Jen was involved, he has a right to prove it if he gets to the hearing level.
I think that's exactly right. That's why I think these folks have a problem, because you involved Colin. You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys, I understand why, from their point of view, what do we have to lose, right? Like, everybody already thinks, not everybody, many people already think we are responsible. We already have a reputation that's kind of destroyed in, outside of our little world. So why not? They must have clearly gotten rid of evidence in their mind to the point where they think, well, they can't really prove that we did it. Now, they think that. We'll leave it at that. The point is, though, that all that Aiden would have to do is prove that it's believable, that there's enough evidence to support that it would be believable, correct?
If we classify them as non-public figures, then he can prove all that and he believes all that. But would a reasonable person looking at that same evidence have the same opinion?
Right. That's what the jury would ultimately be.
Right. But if it is that they are a public figure, then the level is much higher. They have to prove that Aiden knew what he was saying was false and then said it anyway. That's that malice part where you're just doing it just to harm the person, right? So like there's nothing valid about it. But if you're at that higher level, then that's a lot harder to prove. I mean, it's so much harder to prove. It's not impossible, but it's a lot harder than just a reasonable standard.
Right. Now, I didn't read the fine print of there. I got the overview and I went through some of Melanie. I can't. I just can't listen to it because I'm not bored. I get angry, and I get so angry that it's not like healthy to even listen to. But the question is, they have to be asserting, well, we're innocent, so Karen knows she's guilty. It has to be what they're saying, right? That doesn't mean that Aiden would know. In other words, in their theory, I believe what they're saying is Karen knows that she did this because they didn't. So obviously she did it. And then she was using Aiden, feeding him information, which, some of it's true, some of it's not, feeding him information about the case that she knew was false. Right?
Yeah. And I'm not into the whole conspiracy thing. I haven't done anything. I don't know anything about that cause of action. So I can only give my opinion on the defamation aspect of it.
Okay. Got it. So you don't know is really the answer. Because wouldn't it be like two different situations? Like if Aiden, because for Aiden, the issue would be, should he have known or did he know, right? In other words. But for Karen, they're asserting that she did know. I think they're different. I think that they're different claims, but I don't know.
Yeah. And again, Karen is in a different category, but she's protected a lot by the fact that most of what she's doing is within the scope of a criminal case against her. Right. So she's allowed basically to virtually say what you want in your defense. And if they're in the legal documents or adjacent to, they're going to get way more protection than just someone that's printing something that's not technically involved in the case.
Interesting. Very interesting. All right, let's finish this up.
Do you know about how long it was after you moved the vehicles around that you left Canton PD?
Not long, but I'd be guessing if I gave you time.
So where did you go?
Of course.
I went back to West Roxbury.
Which vehicle that you described, which of those vehicles did you use to get from Canton PD to West Roxbury?
The Jeep Cherokee, Jeep Wrangler, sorry.
And if you know about what time was it that you got home to West Roxbury?
So I can't believe you just told us the truth. I was saying, so this was my thing. Over the weekend, I'm debating on how much I should say. I, for a long time, have asserted that Caitlin left first because Caitlin had to take the dog off the premises. There's no way that you can't have Chloe on the premises if the dog is out of control. And we did hear from Garrett Wing, which I will show you all very soon, that a dog, when it gets this worked up, that it's biting like this, and he will show you. But anyway, the point is, I know there's so much in my head that I want to share, but I'm also careful because I want to make sure I share it in the right way. The point is that I've been saying for a long time, Caitlin lived at the house at 34 Fairview. She's pretending she lived at Tristan's because they need to have a valid reason why Caitlin's leaving the house at 12:30 at night. They started out, number one, which is in the reports, the new FOIA, that she said originally she was the first to leave. Eventually, they switch it to the last. The point is, I eventually realized no way Brian Albert is allowing Caitlin to go alone with the crazy dog to Tristan's. So my thought was, Brian Higgins must be the one that is strong enough to take the dog with Caitlin. So he is assigned to be the guard to get Caitlin home to the house. that was my thought, right? Now, it would have to have been in Caitlin's car, though. So
What kind of car she got?
The Jeep Cherokee, the white Jeep Cherokee.
Well, can we hear that question again? Because anyone that has those girly Jeeps know that a Wrangler is a lifestyle. A Jeep Cherokee is like an SUV. But when you decide Wrangler, you're Wrangler. This is not a regular car at all, right?
Yes.
Like you take the tops off, you put the stupid plow on there. This is not a Jeep Cherokee. You will never make this mistake. And I never understood why he had this Freudian slip of Jeep Cherokee.
Yeah, it's not Freudian, it's leakage.
Okay, so let's hear it again then.
Yep.
I mean, this doesn't relate back to him wanting to have sex with his mom?
Or anybody else. Or anybody else, yes. I've actually studied Freudian slips, believe it or not, at like a really high level. It's incredibly interesting. But anyway, there is no such thing as a Freudian slip. Here we go. This should be playing. Is it playing? Why isn't it playing? Sorry, guys. Here we go.
I went back to West Roxbury.
Which vehicle that you've described, which of those vehicles did you use to get from Canton PD to West Roxbury?
The Jeep Cherokee, Jeep Wrangler. Sorry.
Wow, that's incredible.
Wow, that's hard.
Time was it that you?
That's incredible. So
yeah,
what was that? That's image. Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say the Jeep Cherokee. Don't say the Jeep Cherokee. Up, Jeep Cherokee. That's what leakage.
Why was Lally insistent to Lucky that he saw a Jeep Cherokee and not the Ford Edge? I don't know if you recall this, but there was a lot of questioning where Lally's implying somehow that it was a Cherokee that was in front of that house and not an Edge. I don't know what his basis was for that questioning. I don't know either. Was he just trying to show that he didn't know the difference, or that they were similar and that Lucky wouldn't know? Or does Lally know that at some point there was a Jeep Cherokee in front of that house that somebody told him throughout the investigation?
It's a great question. I don't know the answer to that.
But you see how hard he says Jeep Cherokee. I mean, he
no.
Jeep. It's like so out there. It's not even close to being
100%.
an honest mistake.
And this was why, for a long time, that's why I thought he had parked the Jeep in front of the house, was because it was at some point Caitlin's Jeep that must have been in front of the house. And he was trying to essentially cover for Caitlin by placing his Jeep there. That maybe Caitlin had to pull the car up to get the dog out of the house. That doesn't really make sense, though. Like the dog, well, maybe it does. Maybe it does. Anyway, there's ways I think that it does make sense, but that was my original thought, was that he's covering for Caitlin's white Jeep Cherokee. And he very well might be. And by the way, this Jeep might serve more than one purpose. It might have multiple reasons to put it out front.
But I believe it is. I mean, obviously it can run cover, it can run the body out front. And something in Higgins' mind had that Jeep Cherokee sticking there. And he's asking, how did you get home? Why would you say Jeep Cherokee out of all the cars? I know it's a Jeep, but when you're in that Wrangler, he doesn't have a Jeep Cherokee. The Wrangler's a Wrangler. It's your thing.
You are 100% correct. And the question then is, but he had his car, right? So how would he have, I don't know, he could have just kept her Jeep and dropped her off, and Tristan deals with, I don't know.
Or it's a very critical vehicle that they had to use to either cover up or utilize to transport the body if there is a Jeep Cherokee at the time. But because this is a traumatic time, someone's dead and he has to figure out how to move this fucking body. Of course, if Brian Abbott says, all right, I'm going to use a Jeep Cherokee, I'll park it out front, something in his mind with regard to Jeep Cherokee is sticking in this big boy's head, and he let it slip.
But so to me, I mean, I know that you're still working around the reality of all of them being, my opinion, that the reality of them all being involved. So I understand why you're trying to do that. But let's imagine in a pretend world where what happens is there's a fight, everyone hears it because the dog is involved and makes a lot of noise, just my opinion, of course. So everybody comes running from the kitchen, who was in the kitchen, into the family room where they were talking because he did want to talk to him about John. And John peeks his head in, We won't get into the details, but scuffle, very quick, dog down, John down, right? Now everybody's in there, everybody's watching. So these two are going to try to take control of the scene right away. Get out of here. So the first thing they're going to do is try to like get everybody else away from John, right? And so then you have at that very moment, Julie's getting a text from her brother, like, I'm here, you know. So they're like, oh, Sarah and Julie are looking at each other like, what do we do? Jen and Nicole are right there. They're saying, just, get rid of them. Go out, tell them, we'll take you home. So that's what she does. And meanwhile, they're watching out the window because Karen is still there. And they have to figure out, like, oh my God, is she coming in this house? That's why Jen keeps talking about looking out. She says door, it's really the window. I don't know why. I do know why, it doesn't matter. But that's why Jen is looking out the window. And that's why she's calling John, because she wants to make it look like John never came in the house. So that's why she's calling him so many times, because she's trying to be like, oh, John never came in. Where was John? It's so ridiculous, but that's what they were doing. And it was an immediate decision. It had to be. But anyway, that's my current working theory. So if they all did know, right, and they all are aware, Chloe also, one of the first things that has to happen, because nobody in the house can leave right away, right? You've got all those people still in the house, and Chloe is out of her mind. I mean, when a dog gets that worked up, it goes a little nuts, according to professionals who know this stuff, not from me. According to Garrett Wang, who's a German Shepherd expert, really. He also was going to testify in Karen's case if needed. But so if that's true, then Brian Albert would have known he can't have the dog in the house with all the people that are still going to be at the house for a while. He has to get rid of the dog. So to me, they have to get the dog off the property. And Caitlin is the only person that can take the dog because she's a family member. Maybe Brian Higgins. I mean, those would be the only two people. Maybe Brian Higgins took the dog. I don't know. I wouldn't see Higgins taking the dog. You would have the kid do it. We better answer these questions and hit a little break. Yes, I know. All right. I know. I'm sorry, you guys. I just, I get obsessive. Hi, Mark. Mark, we are celebrating our 5-month anniversary. Hey, Sam and Vince. I'm here, but at work. Just listening to you in the background. Hi, Mark. We are so happy to have you here with us. And Got a Bad Feeling says, yes, I'm a she. Of course you are. See, I knew it. I know. But I wanted to double check. Just making sure. At RC11 Firehorse sends $9.99. Thank you, RC11. Higgins went back with his plow because the original was that John would be hit by a plow. Driver Higgins went back. That's an interesting idea, because the original was John would be hit by a plow. I think you are right that I don't even know if they went that far, RC11. I'm not even sure that they got that they were even concerned with how he got hit. They were just like, put him outside, say he never came in, and maybe he got hit by the plow. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, because that's the last they saw at Karen's SUV was right there, right? So let's just put him right there.
Just put him around there. Yeah, exactly. They weren't thinking Karen, but they were thinking just like he slipped and fell or whatever. Who cares? Whatever. Because he did have the head wound, so theoretically he could have hit his head. I mean, to them who are just like, get him out of here, right? So yeah, no, but like I said, there could have been a lot of ways to use the plow, so it's interesting. Hello, Rudy. He sends $10. On Proctor's interview of Julie Albert, she stated that Jen called her at 4:55 a.m. Yep, that John was dead. How did she know that prior to arriving at 34 Fairview? How did Julie or how did Jen? On Proctor's interview of Julie, she states that Jen, Jen was there. So to me, in my opinion, Jen was absolutely there. She'd just gotten to the house. She'd only been there really a handful of minutes, in my opinion, but she was there. Like I said, what I know for sure is that what I can say for sure, in my opinion, is that Jen and Nicole are standing by the door when Julie goes out. So if you believe, as I do, that Julie went out after John was already down, then they were there. And, so that's, again, you have to work it out in the theory that makes sense for you, but that's my current theory.
So the fine lawyers at the Hinckley Law Firm, that is not my opinion, obviously. I have a different opinion with regards to Jen.
Yes. At Nate Taylor sends $2. Jessica Hyde has dreads under the head wrap. Oh, thank you, Nate Taylor. That's really helpful. So she's hiding her dreadlocks, is what you're telling us.
I get that. I get why she would want to do that then.
Oh, yeah.
The
In a
negative
courtroom?
connotation of dreadlocks. Oh, my God.
Absolutely. I have negative connotations of her, but not for that reason.
Yeah, me neither. Exactly.
At Thomas Still, Y6V sends $4.99. Getting from the Philippines. No way. I love watching the show with you and Vince. Usually watch the tape version. 115 here. Wow. Hello to the Philippines. It's amazing, right? That people can be all over the world listening and
We're
watching.
very lucky to have Thomas watching from the Philippines.
We are very lucky to have you, Thomas. You are always welcome here, and thank you for your support. At Denise Wall, 4406 sends $2. I think Aussie Insider cracked the key cycle issue. Yeah, well, here's the thing that I didn't know, though, and this is something that Aussie and I talked about, in real time. And I don't know that she knew it either. I think she and I might have been overcomplicating because Aussie ran it all through the AI system. And so here's the thing, right? She and I both agreed that we just didn't have that much information because he only gave us what you see in the CARS report. Now, I didn't check the entire report. I have to go back and keep looking because I stopped as soon as he verified that key cycle was his testing. Game over, right? I mean, you really don't even have to do any more evaluation. But you're right. Aussie did an incredible. Well, what Aussie figured out was which key cycle could have very well been Karen driving that at that point, and it wasn't 161162. For sure.
Yeah,
she did a great job. Yeah. No, Aussie does such a good job because she has that math brain that none of us do, right? It's so incredible.
I like when she makes fun of me. She's good at that too.
She's like,
she excels at that.
She's very good at that. At Stuttering John Corleone sends $2. Trooper Paul theorem, MPH times stuff equals sideswipe.
That is true. That is a valid formula.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Stuttering John Corleone. You are right about that. My God, it's amazing, right? This case is unbelievable. Do you want to take this one again? I forget how to say it.
Eep, op, orc, that means I love you in the language from the Jetsons. TB said he got a big First Amendment lawyer. Who? I don't know.
I don't know. He's going to announce, I think he said later this week, right?
You got to make a big announcement.
He's going to make a big announcement.
So we're doing a show for his fundraiser, right? When is that? Next weekend?
May 17th. May
17th.
Yeah. It's the week after Mother's Day, remember? So we will be, I think we have the 2 p.m. time slot, which is very exciting. So we will be helping fundraise for Turtle Boy, and we're awesome. Very excited about it.
Can't you call, who's like the most famous person you have in your phone that would actually know you and call you?
I have no idea. I have to think about that really well. I mean, I can't tell you.
Let's get that I know. Let's get that person on the show.
Right? I don't know if they would do it. At Spirit Seeker Squad sends $5. Tagged you both in posts on here showing John's head injury with how hat must have. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yes, the open area allowed damage. I know. It's so sad, right? It's true. I forgot about the hat, but it would have been significant.
Exactly. And it had that metal piece to it also, which is sort of that little J indent.
Yeah, that J indent. And, he could have been exactly where that gash, the nasty gash, man. You look close at that gash. It's nasty.
You know exactly where you can't get that? On a front lawn with a little bit of snow on it. That would never happen.
According
Even in
to
frozen
Hank
snow,
Brennan, it's
it
possible, though. Remember? Hank told us it was. Oh, my God, you guys. I don't know when I'm going to have time to do this, but I, by accident, was doing like a deception detection analysis of Judson Welcher. Oh, my God. It is one of the more amusing, it'll be really amusing if I can actually ever get to it, because in the first 3 minutes of cross-examination, he just falls apart. He doesn't answer a single question. It's all tactics. It's pretty funny. Thank you, though, Spirit Seeker Squad. Thank you so much.
I will give it to him one of the greatest openings of an expert on cross-examination I've ever seen, where he asked the attorney to introduce himself. And Bob Alessi, have never seen that either.
Bob was like, oh, this is interesting.
And handle it nicely, though.
Yes, but Bob was he had a struggle with him. Remember, he went back after the first day and then he came back, I think, the next day, and he like recalibrated because he didn't realize he was going to get just total obfuscation.
Yeah.
What a mess. It's really sad. But I mean, to be fair to Aperture, which I really shouldn't be, but to be fair to Aperture, what were they going to do? I mean, they had nothing. They had no way. They did the best they could do.
Yeah, I didn't think they did such a horrible job considering the fact that they're trying to prove something that didn't happen, right? So like you saw the blue thing, and if you, I don't know, it gives you a visual. I liked the visuals. I hated the way they showed Randy getting smashed from behind and thrown on the floor. Like I hated the visuals from us. Like I just didn't think we needed it, but I know that they have to show what the tests were. And of course, it didn't happen that way. Obviously, John didn't fly 30 feet back and didn't get the road rash the way it happened. But that was the first time you can really see what potentially could happen. And I was getting nervous. I mean, I think Turtle Boy was nervous too towards the end of this trial because we didn't get all the stupid things that we wanted. We didn't get Higgy Bear. We didn't get Proctor. You know, all the stuff that's nefarious that has really nothing to do with getting Karen off. It just had to do with what we wanted to see is who actually killed John.
It's funny. I actually, because of the fact that I was doing videos all through this period, I have like on document my opinion at each moment. And I think I had gone on the record about like 2 witnesses in to the defense's case saying that it was over because Hank Brennan was so desperate. Like it was so obvious that Hank felt like he was losing, and that was like the turning point. And I can't remember exactly which witness it was, but I know that like I caught it by accident just going through old videos looking for a particular screen grab. And I was like, oh my God, my opinion is on record. That's cool. You know, so I did believe they were going to win. But what I was worried about was a jury, tampering with the jury after what they pulled in the first trial. So Aiden also had a brilliant scheme for that. Like he went through each juror and he's like, juror number 1, I think, like to try to kind of circumvent that possibility, making it seem like, look, if they only get rid of the people that are obviously pro-defense, right, then we know it's rigged. But it wasn't. And they did a really good job. So, of not rigging the jury the second time. Rudy says, as per police reports that Jen's testified, the taillight was cracked. And Rudy, Jen also, the very first police report says nothing about I hit him or could I have hit him. I mean, it says nothing about that. There isn't even like an utterance of hit him. Nothing. So you're absolutely right. Were you going to say something, Vince?
No, I think Jen was fair to Karen in that initial report. I went over this with Emily where there were times where Jen could have really thrown Karen under the bus and she didn't.
Tried to be.
Right. Yeah, but there were some times where she didn't even... Karen was so drunk, she didn't even know that she was at 34 Fairview at some point. Right? Yeah. So then, like, if we're going to say that she knew that John went into the house, I mean, there's a point where she didn't know that she went there, maybe because she was so angry and she didn't remember, but I mean, that's pretty significant.
Karen was completely dysregulated. I mean, there's no way that any of us could imagine what it was like to be in the physiological state that Karen is in, because first, she's wasted. I mean, she does her last shot 40 minutes before they walk out the door, and she's drinking the whole time. So there's that. Number 2, she goes into an absolute tailspin, believing that John is hooking up with some girl or whatever, and calls 50 times. And then she eventually passes out on the couch at 3:30 or 3 o'clock, wakes up an hour and a half later, and now thinks he's dead and starts like his complete hysterics, like, calling the daughter, right? So by the time, and then she finds him and he is dead, right? So anything that Karen could have remembered, would have remembered, might have remembered, it all needs to be extrapolated at a later time because she has no fucking idea what's going on at that point. Yeah. You can't access memory. So there's something called state-dependent learning. In order to access a memory, you have to be at least in a physiologically close sister mental physical state in order to remember. So That's why I remember that whole thing in college where it was like, oh, if we study for a test, high, then we'll do better on the test if we could smoke weed before. You may not have heard that, Vince, but right, that is true technically. But if you're in a completely dysregulated, heightened state, there's no way you're going to remember what was going on just before John walked in the house, because you're not in that state until after, right? So she'd have to calm down to remember. At Ginger LI7FC sends $10. Keeping biased away, Chief Rafferty confirmed O'Keefe had reported drug activity in the town. What if this upset McAlbert's? Absolutely, Ginger. You are right. Chief Rafferty did confirm that. To me, the reason why this doesn't apply, they might have been. But this night, to me, I just don't think. Because I think Brian Albert, for all of his flaws, is it's drilled into his head as like an Irish Catholic. He's the oldest of 7 children. He's living in his parents, the house his parents bought, right? To me, family's first in his mind, and no chance he does any shenanigans that are going to get anybody physically hurt with his son, his daughter, and his favorite nephew in the house. So to me, there's no way this is on purpose. It would have happened by accident because of that, right? Because he's a family man first.
Agreed.
Rudy says, what time was the 911 call? Yes, 6:04. Yes, that's right. That's why I asked about Jen and Julie. Yeah, no, for sure. Oh, yeah. Oh, thanks, Rudy, for bringing that up. I mean, we obviously already know that I already believe, as you know, that Jen's 911 call is like the worst and most suspect 911 call of anyone ever. So to me, she gives it away on that call, if not during the 2:27 Google search or the 4:55 call. I mean, like, yeah, and then she also calls her sister twice, right? She calls her sister at like 5:02 and 5:03 to give her a heads up that they're coming. I think there's another call too. Isn't there a third call to Nicole? There might even be 3 calls to Nicole. Like, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of stuff happening in the middle of the night, right? For Jen, 100%. Good point. Nancy sends $100.
Wow.
What? Wow. Nancy's 4062. Thank you so much. That's amazing. Thank you so much for your support. Do you think the truth will come out in the defamation case, Vince? What do you think?
Absolutely. It gives us more information. I think we have the truth here. I think we know what's going on with regard to this case. Now that we have all of this data, and it's coming from information that we're getting access to after. I don't know what the defense was necessarily using in trial number 1. It definitely wasn't what we're seeing. Point in case is the waterfall video where we see what occurred, but Alan Jackson prepared an entire cross-examination based upon the premise that Higgins was ignored by his client, right? So, like, there's a total disconnect between the actual evidence and what we saw. Now, that either was intentional or was negligent on their part, but point is, we have the luxury of time and sitting around and doing nothing, not having relationships, fiance in another state, me never getting a, right? So,
That's
we
right.
have all this, like, comfort and time to do it, and he's under the gun of trying to get his client off, and that's a different situation. So yes, the more information we have, the more data we have, the more people that are actually looking at it. And again, just because you're not an attorney doesn't mean that you can't be helpful in watching and reviewing data. Any dope can be an attorney. I always say I'm proof of that. So the more people literally that you have looking at information and documents is the key to success. And that's why the large firms are who they are. Like I said, when Bob Alessi comes in, he's got a team of literally 1,000 attorneys, but behind them are multiple thousands
paralegals,
of right.
Assistants.
I mean, literally, they hire attorneys that are the top in their class that will never see a courtroom for 10 years to do the grunt work, right? So, like, and these are the smartest of the smartest. So that's what you have behind you. They're not even paralegals. They're attorneys that they're paying $250,000 right out of law school to work on any of this stuff.
Right. And then you also have paralegals and interns, so you have all of it, which is amazing.
Right.
Yeah. No, but that's a really good point, Vince. Like you're saying, like everybody contributes. Like Kyle Sharkey was the one that got this FOIA dump, and this FOIA dump is incredible. Like, as Rudy's obviously going through it, there's a ton of stuff, and everybody has access. If you don't know how to get it, I can probably put it up somehow, but you can just go to X. Microdots, I think, has it posted, and Kyle Sharkey, I think, has it posted. So it's there if you just mess around on X for a few minutes. Yeah.
Is Kyle Sharkey a person?
Yeah, Kyle. Yes. Yes.
Like you met, like, hi, my name is Kyle Sharkey.
Yeah, I believe so. Yes. Okay. I don't personally know him, but Emily, of course, does. And he's sort of really, I've been following him on Twitter for a long time. So he's like all over this case. He has been for many, many years now. And he's very prominently talking about it on Twitter, which I appreciate. I don't have time for it. I tried to do Twitter, but it's like impossible to do. You just can't do it all. It's just too much. It's too much.
Well, according to the trial channel, Emily, I'm like 12 different accounts on Twitter, apparently.
I know. Like, you obviously are a very busy guy then. All right. So thank you, though, Nancy. And
thank you.
Everybody, the more eyes, the better. 100%. Couldn't agree more. At J4SNY, sends $4.99. As a break from this case, can you at some point discuss the law of harassment and attempted DoorDash delivery? What does that mean?
Your good buddy, John Edward Melendez, you may know him as Stuttering John, receives DoorDash deliveries. Generally, they're paid for, but sometimes he harasses the person that's delivering them because it may be a beer that he doesn't like, and then he'll claim that he's getting harassed by the delivery person. Yeah, that happened this weekend. Totally unrelated, but to you, obviously, as a former employee of SiriusXM.
Yes.
It sort of relates to you a little bit, but this guy's just goofing around.
Okay. That is, I have no idea. I'm like, wait, what? What? These poor delivery people. They just want a lawsuit, though, the delivery people, apparently. At queenofhearts.charnel says $1.99. Can you get Howard Stern? He loves free speech. Do you think he knows about this case, Howard Stern?
I don't know. You actually met him, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I
How
did.
was he in person?
Exactly the way you would expect, I think. Just nice, high, that's it. Very, very, very kind. Mm-hmm. Yes. Who wasn't so kind was Robin, but everybody else with the show was really kind.
If you ever want to do a study on narcissistic personality disorder, Robin has it. Now, of course, she was sexually molested by her father. Things that happen in your childhood are going to cause you to
I didn't know
be a
that.
certain
I didn't
way.
know that.
Oh my God. Yeah. She wrote about it in her book. It's graphic. It's gross, but I mean, it happens, and it happened to her. And she was very honest about what occurred. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that certainly does make sense, right?
But Robin has a history. Obviously, Robin Quivers was Howard Stern's co-host. She had a history of bashing any one of her people that she worked with. Why? She was mean to you?
She was just yes. Not I wouldn't say like targeting.
What'd she do?
She just was like rude and nothing towards me. She just like doesn't even look at you. You know what I mean? She's just kind of bitchy, period. That was my experience of her.
Well, Miss Judy's in love with Jim Florentine, and Robin and Jim were dating for a good period of time. I finally got Jim on with Miss Judy because Jim did the show Crank Yankers.
Yes.
And Miss Judy used to watch Crank Yankers when she was married to her first husband, who basically paid her no attention, so she would be watching Jim Florentine. So she was in love with all
that's kind of fun.
Yeah, Miss Judy has a 12-year-old boy's humor, so she likes all that pranking and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
I got it.
I eventually hooked them up. But yeah, Robin and Jim were dating for a while.
That's so interesting. I had no idea. It's very strange. Nancy's 4062 sends $20. Worst 911 call ever, Sam Goldberg, in the Alan Greenberg case. Do you know, Nancy? He admits to it in the first sentence. Did you know? Have you heard this 911
No,
call?
I don't know anything about this.
Yeah, so I did an analysis. I only did, I think, one video on this, and it was the 911 analysis. And you should watch it, just the beginning.
All right.
The first thing he says is like, I did it. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. You got to know, if you don't know about this case, you should learn about it, Vince, because this is a woman who had and I can't remember the details, 25 knife wounds all through her back, and they said it was a suicide. Oh, yeah.
Usually the Jews aren't going to go out slicing each other, but apparently they did, huh, in this case?
Well, he did, yes. You got to watch it. Yeah, it was a horrible, horrible case. And then they cleaned it up. His Hasidic uncles showed up right after and like took all the computers out of the house, and yeah, it was bad.
I was totally like, I was just joking. I don't know anything about it. I presume Goldberg and Greenberg were Jewish.
I know. I knew that.
Totally took a stab. Totally took a stab at that.
I knew. I knew what you were saying. South Boston Kev sends £2. Vince, I won't sue you, bro. I liked you from the jump. Well, that's nice, South Boston Kev. How nice of him not to sue you.
I love that jacket.
I don't think Brian Higgins feels the same way. Is that an AI jacket? That is an awesome jacket. I feel like Brian Higgins in some photos looks so much different than he does in the trial footage. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah. I mean, I always said he's a good-looking guy. I mean, he's obviously a little overweight here. I didn't like the way he dressed at that holiday party where he has like that white undershirt showing through the top of it. But he shined up nicely for this trial.
He did for the trial, 100%.
Yeah,
wait,
because he hid his tattoos.
Party?
Yeah, there was that holiday party in Sandwich where you saw a picture of him. That was a real picture.
Oh,
he's wearing
like
this
one.
like beige shirt. And you know best that if you have arm tattoos, there's really serious issues.
Right, I know, obviously. Okay, let's get to this one and then we can take a break. At Chris Cardell sends $5 from a deception standpoint in linguistics. I know many people who habitually start every response, no matter what, with so. Yeah, I mean, so the first thing you have to do, Chris, with anybody when you're trying to analyze for deception is you got to get a baseline. And this is why I flipped out over one of our last cases that we don't need to get into again, because I saw that all these body language people were like jumping on the bandwagon because they thought that the general public felt one way or another. But you got to do a baseline. And I was so worried that I got it wrong that I went back and like did so much extra work to make sure that the baseline held up. And you have to like test the baseline. Like once you get a baseline, then you have to do the analysis and then you have to go back and make sure it holds. And so every time I do an analysis, I have the baseline in my head for that person. Sometimes I'll have it actually printed next to me so I don't forget if there's a lot. Then I'll do the analysis, but then I will go back again to make sure that I got the baseline, that it holds all the way, because I don't want to say something that I don't think is true, right? And I really feel strongly about that. So, but that's why everybody's different. And that's the point. The point is everybody's different. Like not everybody who says so in this case uses it in a deceptive way. But you know who does religiously? Brian Albert. So when you listen to Brian Albert's testimony and you hear so, that's deception. It's actually a tag for him. It's not a tag for Brian Higgins. Brian Higgins, it's a tag for sensitivity, which means that it's something that matters to him, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's deceptive. And that's why you have to get the baseline.
You're 100% right. I'm even thinking like Brian Albert. So, and then he would tell you his bullshit. I had to upgrade my phone. So, right. And then the lie would come after. And that's the importance of finding that baseline, which you teach to us. And I learned from that. There are no universal indicators. There's not. You have to get the baseline first in order to determine if this indicator is something that they always say or is it something that they're using to be deceptive. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll finish up this little...
Wait a minute. Wait, before we go, because I have to pull up our break because I didn't want to have multiple tabs open and, you know...
Let's see what you've been searching for lately.
Slow us down. What? It's going to be all Jen McCabe. What do you mean? Well, you guys know what I've been looking at. Are you kidding me? What the hell else do I do?
Put up your history then. Let's see. This is your history?
All right, we're not. No, it's not at all. I'm putting up my cue. Hold on.
There you go.
Yeah, that's it. All right. Okay, we're gonna do.
I love Lally. How great was Lally sitting at the hearing? Just sitting, just like a boss in the back. Of
Thanks, Chris. Sorry. Oh my God, that's a whole other conversation. We didn't even get into that.
I know. All right, let's break and then we'll go.
All right. Goodbye. All right, we'll be back in 2, maybe 3, probably 2 minutes. Everybody, see you very soon.
I've been biting my tongue for so long. Fuck you, Hank. Think you're better than me. Fuck you, Hank. You are not Lally. Fuck you, Hank. Think you're better than me. Fuck you, Hank. Well, why don't we we see? I'm a basic kind of guy, I really don't need a flaunt. Smoking 6 packs a day and I'm happy as a hog. All I do is mumble, do I really need any lungs? The trial one jury was just like me, they were hung. Trial 2 came around and you wanna bench me? Not one guilty vote was embarrassing to see. Need to remind you that my jury was 9-3. Take your little OUI and get about the scene. Fuck you, hey, hey. Think you're better than me? Fuck you, hey. You are not lolly. Fuck you, hey. Think you're better than me? Fuck you, hey. Well, why don't we see? Why don't we see? Oh, I know what will get us the win. Ask French about his fucking ham sandwich again. That'll prove this beyond all reasonable doubt. Oh, who am I kidding? This shit is a rout.
It appears that I made a mistake.
You took this case so damn personally, and I hold that opinion to a scientific certainty. You weasel face, fuck bet, Arca Major P. Even with all the help you got from Beverly, standing ovation. What a robust cross. Psych. Your nerdy ass looks so fucking lost. Just think. $500,000 was all it cost to get our asses kicked in the fucking law. Think you're better than me? Fuck you. You are not lolly. Fuck you. Think you're better than me? Fuck you. Well, why don't we see? Why don't we see? Hey. Waiting for your response, Maggie. Yeah.
Did I mention my jury was also hung?
Damn, Fervent. How many bangers you got?
Yeah. Took a bullet in the chest and woke up under arrest. You probably wish I'm dead, but I'm here to collect. Every breath a reminder. I will never forget. You're trying to take my son, then it's off with your head. Yeah, I'm out for the kill, and I'm out for the bucks. The world knows the deal, that my fiance sucks. Restraining order was silly, trying to paint me as a maniac. You would think I'm Chili's, the way I want my baby back. It's gangsta kill. Spend some time in the cell. I've been a critic, baby. Time to unleash hell. Hey yo, it's gangsta kill. Spend some time in the cell. I've been a critic, baby. Time to unleash hell. Yeah, just McCarthy sent my ass to jail. A motion to recuse made a Tucker tale. Thought you was slick when you revoked my bail. You just lit the fire, now welcome to hell. Now I got supporters from all across the globe. They know nothing over, I'm about to own. That not guilty verdict really sets the tone. Next battle up, bring Caden home. It's gangsta kill. Spend some time in the cell. I've been a good baby. Time to unleash hell. Hey yo, it's gangsta kill. Spend some time in the cell. I've been a good baby. Time to unleash hell. Officer Noonan, you tripping like Justin. Michelle Mitchell, you tripping like Justin. Judge McCarthy, girl, you tripping like Justin. North Andover PD, all y'all tripping like Justin.
Kelsey Fitzsimmons is a North Andover police officer who was shot. Okay, she was shot, and then she was shot. She was shot. After all, she was shot. In case I didn't make that clear yet.
So good. That song is so good. Just such an amazing job, this guy. Right? How good is Fervent, though?
Amazing. I love watching that guy run and fall. Kind of reminds me of me. Like, I get scared very easily, especially with loud sounds.
Okay, but you're not a firefighter, so there's that.
Oh yeah, I would totally run away from a fire. There's no way I'm going into a burning building.
No. How?
I even said if I was a cop,
funny.
Sam, I would never stop anyone from doing virtually. I can't figure out like what would be important enough to risk my own life. Like if you're stealing a TV from Target, I'm not risking my life for some multinational corporation's bullshit product, right? They have insurance. Let them deal with it. I'm a big pansy when it comes to stuff like that. Thank God
that's
there are
probably
real
why
men
you're
in the
not-
world.
Right, why you're not a police officer. I think though, I've they can get really jaded. Our police officers. I try to be respectful of them, but people act weird when they get scared. They really do.
Yeah, no, I wish I didn't have that in me, but I do get scared. Like even staying at houses, I get freaked out. Like I don't know, like at night.
Me too.
Yeah, like I'm so scared. That's why I love being in Manhattan. I love that there's only like one way in and one way out.
Me
I
too.
hate like if we go down to a Florida house and there's like
Windows
different
and doors.
beds. Yeah, I can't. I get so scared.
I do too. But that's because I grew up like in Elmwood Park when I was young, and like there was a reason to be a little shaded out, and so like, yeah, no, I mean I'm with you. That's so funny. Us city people, like we just think totally differently, right? Like it shades me out to think about having too many doors in my house.
Yeah, and I don't claim to be like I'm like this. I grew up in the suburbs, but now that I've lived in the city, my kids only know apartments and elevators and things like that. Just a different lifestyle.
No, completely.
They don't know what that green stuff is, on the earth, and
right.
Those plants
grass.
growing. Yeah, exactly. All that stuff they don't know.
That's right. Unless you're near the park, and then I guess you know it. But yeah, not in this city.
Yeah, we are, but still, you know how it is. It's just different. It's a different lifestyle. I mean, even today, like I was walking to the gym, Lifetime on 34th Street. There's 4 Asian girls sitting there on a little bench. It's really tight. It's right next to MSG. And they're all on their phones. Like they're literally next to each other in the sun. The sun was finally out, but they're all like looking at their phones, right? It's like,
of course.
But then I'm like, I can't complain at them because I got a notification that I spent 9.5 hours daily on my phone the past month. And I send it to my friends. I'm like, I got to get these numbers up. 9.5 hours a day averaging?
It's a lot. I know.
Who am I to yell at these girls?
It's true. It's always YouTube. I mean, that's like what I'm looking at, right? So at least I know what I'm doing on the phone at the very least.
Yeah, it's always YouTube for me too.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, that's kind of what we're doing right now, right? Like it or not. But to your point earlier too, like about this case. Yeah, I mean, the only reason that I am here now is because I was getting so emotional about this case and I wanted a place to like vent about it. That was as much pre-thought as I put into developing a YouTube channel. I was just like, I can't sit with this anymore. I need someplace to go, and just complain. Really, that was my thinking. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously you had a name, but a name doesn't carry you on YouTube like it used to, and it doesn't even matter. You actually have to know what you're doing. Obviously, you're doing a great job doing it, like keeping people entertained, because you have to entertain. Ultimately, in the end, it is entertainment, right? What we're doing. But when you're so into something and you like it and you convey it sometimes in a comedic manner, but generally in an authentic manner, then yeah, it can be successful at it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Now some people ask me like, well, what do you do? I'm like, well, I'm a therapist, but then it's hard to explain. I analyze like true crime cases on YouTube. Is that
it's
a
so
job?
embarrassing. Yeah, exactly. Right. I know. Well, I mean, I'm not into the time-wise like you are too. Like you put a lot of time and effort into your things. So,
I do.
But it is embarrassing where I don't even know what to say. Because I have friends that play poker for a living and they're so embarrassed to say it, but they've been successful doing it. Yeah. Like, Paul Lambrakis, Poker Paul Lambrakis. I met him on a cruise. He's, a Greek kid. His mom thinks he's an accountant. Like he won't tell his mom. He's 45 amazing. Or like 50, like it's funny.
That is
but
funny.
He won't tell him that.
Yeah. Actually, I don't mind telling people because they're so curious. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know how to describe it either, but that is what I'm doing right now for the most part.
Well, you built a good community around you. That's like the biggest thing when you're starting out is like having a community of people that, one, respect you, but want to watch you. And again, I don't know if you block people or not, like that's something I don't do and I never have done. And generally I don't want it done if I'm on a show. Like I don't ask for that much,
Yeah, I try not to. I mean,
I mean, like that's sort of the thing coming from the Howard Stern world. It's like you had to get used to crassness and just people busting on each other and
Craziness.
not getting offended. You know, and that boils down to this case that's going on right now, is that there's so much thin skin between Jen and Brian Abbott. If they handled it properly, they wouldn't be in the situation that they're in.
100%.
If someone bothers you, you don't go running to the DA and have them make it, because it's only going to get worse the way you do it like this.
100%.
And it just did get worse because they had that thin skin where they could not handle any type of criticism. Now, of course, if they didn't necessarily ask for all this, but it came their way. And the way that they handle it is exactly the way you should. And filing this defamation lawsuit, again, is just going to keep it alive for even longer.
And make people double down. I mean, like, that's kind of always struck me as the Commonwealth's problem when it came to this case. They just kept doubling down and doubling down and doubling down at each turn whenever Karen, you know, would put a new motion out or, you know, brought another person on the team. It was like, well, we're just going to spend 3 times as much. We're going to get Judd Welcher. It's just like they wanted so badly to win this case. And you can see for Morrissey, it was about winning, really. It was never about the details of the case. In fact, I don't think when you listen to Major Coppenrath, yeah, like for any of these people, it was never about, nobody ever sat, well, at least not publicly, and looked at the substance and went, you know, the substance of this case is extraordinarily problematic. They just kept kind of reacting to the people reacting to them.
Yep.
And that's exactly what these guys have done too. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when it comes down to incentive as well, you think about like the district attorney's office, Lally, sitting in the back there, makes me so happy because he was at the last hearing where Karen Reed was attempting to utilize Michael Proctor's text messages in the next complaint that they're going to file.
Yep.
There's a restrictive order right now that they can't use it. Technically, the judge would have to add it. I don't know if the judge made a decision or not, but the judge would have to add that to that protective order, and then they could use some of the text messages. But to see Lally just hanging in the back with no worries, he doesn't have to worry about meeting payroll, rent, nothing. He just gets to sit there, and it's a thing that you have to deal with in the legal industry because they can just steamroll through. Now imagine if you're facing a federal government with attorneys that really care, right? So it gets a lot tougher, especially if you're a criminal defendant in these situations. Yeah, I know. It's to that next level. Do you think that there was something at least negative with regard to Adam Deitch's potential investigation / prosecution where nothing came of it?
You negative for Karen, you mean?
Yeah, just overall, like for Adam, for the way perhaps they were hoodwinked into doing it on some level. You know, obviously I'm grateful that they did do it, but generally the federal government doesn't come up with zeros, and even Karen will say that. It's like they don't investigate, they don't start anything without winning. I never really understood, did they fully go through and did they go to a grand jury to bring criminal charges against somebody and the grand jury denied it? I don't know if that's the case. I'm just asking this out loud.
I don't think so. I think, well, so they were never, as far as I understand, they were not investigating the death of Boston police officer John O'Keefe. They were investigating whether the police essentially were corrupt. So I think they were investigating corruption, not whether or not, you know, John was murdered by anyone else. But as part of that investigation, they did, you know, hire ARCA to do an analysis of the crime scene to let them know, based on, you know, what their expertise, what do they think happened, right? So, and I think that's the way that they were given the case. It wasn't like, well, I guess there was like, was it a car accident or not? I don't remember if the question was there a car accident or what happened? Because remember, they came up with the potato gun or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were like throwing glass at the taillight. So I think they were trying to figure out, or were tasked with, what happened, given that this is the crime scene. And they were sure that it wasn't a car accident, but they didn't know what had happened.
Yeah, it is weird. Like the fact that ARCA was wasting their time trying to develop a cannon that would shoot glass tells me they were way off with regard to what actually happened. Now, did they actually see the video showing Karen backing into John's car? because that's the real testing you would want to do and see if you can replicate that and does it crack the taillight, as opposed to...
Oh, yeah, they did do that.
Oh, they actually did in the first trial. They backed it up.
No. So, no, the first trial, they were not hired by the defense. They
Right.
were only hired by the defense to answer questions about the report that they made for the feds.
Right. I'm saying, like, in that first report that they made, they literally sat down and said, okay, let's build a cannon to shoot glass.
Mhm.
But to me, they didn't know that Karen had backed into John's car.
Well, no,
and
they didn't
see that video.
because they
I don't
were.
know.
Well, Karen, you're saying the video of John's car? No, I don't think so. I think they were just given the crime scene and said,
Gotcha.
how did this happen? Right? How did he lose his life? I think that's really what, and ultimately what their evidence proved was it didn't happen from a car accident. That's why they were, screwing around with potato launchers, because they were like, oh, did somebody throw a glass at the taillight? Because they were trying to do the impossible, which is recreate a scene that was staged to begin with, right?
Right.
And the scene, I mean, in my opinion, was obviously staged. I mean, of course it was staged. Karen, this didn't, first of all, what did we learn from Arca? I mean, Arca did do the testing, right? And Hank with his side swipe and the whole thing. But at the end of the day, what we ultimately learned was there's really no way to get the injuries that John O'Keefe got from a car accident, because a car accident at that speed, which, by the way, happened at a key cycle we know Karen didn't have possession of the car for, it would have destroyed John O'Keefe. I mean, he would have been, broken from head to toe.
Right. And that was the interesting part, because they were trying to replicate the marks on the arm and
Right.
the physics behind that. And that was cool. And to see you do, and obviously there would be broken bones. And I still wonder what would have happened if Patrick Higgins smashed John's arm while he was dead, but before he put him out on the grass. This case would be a lot fucking harder. Had they had the knowledge to actually think it through before they did this.
But they did not.
I know,
That's
thank
right.
God, because we wouldn't have this defense that there are no broken bones, right? But if they broke a bone or even accidentally broke a bone somehow, putting him out there, this case would have been so much different.
Well,
and
they
that's the
did
scary
break
part.
a bone, though. I mean, I guess from their vantage, just to be fair to them, like they did. I mean, his entire skull was crushed, right?
Right. But
So
they didn't
to
do that.
them, they didn't do the arm, but they're not thinking that through. So like they're just thinking, well, he could have slipped and fell and hit his head,
Right.
right? Whatever.
Well, you're right, because they didn't even have a thought that it was Karen that hit him, right? That came at 7 a.m. after the body was already
Right.
placed.
Yeah.
It
From
is
Brian
scary,
Higgins,
though.
by the way. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, of course. I mean, once he hears after this night, and you can imagine Brian Higgins going through that night, it's got to be the most craziest thing. Because even as a guy, like if you get into a fight, a scary thing is like if you're a fighter, is that someone dies from one punch, and it's from the back of the head. It's not from the punch. So like it scares you.
Of course.
If you knock somebody out, if you've done it before, like you get so scared. You don't even want to look at the news because you don't know if you left the scene. Brian had to stay there. You know what I'm saying? Like if you knock somebody out, if you got into that and they're not moving, and that you hear it's a sound you won't forget. Like you hear the back of their head, and if it hits the wrong way, that's generally how people die with one punch. Almost always, actually.
Yeah, it's very scary.
Yeah.
It's really incredible because I can at least tell you this. For my last video in this series, I watched 65 fights so far. Who knows, I might throw a few more in there, but I watched 65 because I've never really been in a fight, and I've never seen a fight that wasn't like a boxing match in a professional setting, right? Not really. I mean, maybe if I thought about it long enough, I could have seen it. But so I didn't have any idea, and I'm not even going to tell you, it's embarrassing, my initial hypothesis of how long fights took, all of this. Like, it's pretty amazing how far away I was from reality, but it was interesting. It was quite the learning experience, actually, because I didn't know. Like, I've never been in a fight with a guy in a bar, and I do know that a lot of my male friends through childhood did get into fights at different points, drinking in bars and whatever, but I was never there really for any of them. So.
Right. And really what happened, it's less than a second, because I believe that John was unconscious as he was falling down. I saw that you were looking at the fireplace, and it wouldn't be something that's higher up. It has to be something that's lower to the ground, meaning like, the top ridge, he would only fall just a little bit. He needs to fall almost the entire way and then hit it. So the bottom ridge would be something that potentially could have caused it.
Could have been.
But not the top. Like if you get knocked unconscious and you only fall a little bit, it's not enough force that's going to hit the back.
I don't know about that. I think it could have been enough force to hit all the way. I mean, he would have kept going. He would have had to have kept going.
But
because
the
question
real
is,
force is like if the person falls all the way to the ground and hits, let's say, even a flat surface, like that's full force, like falling backwards, right? But you're saying it was just a little bit at the top there.
Well, I'm saying that it could have been. Like it could have kind of hit all the way. Like, in other words, if you look at and again, I don't have to be right about this. I just am looking at the fireplace in general. But I did notice the lip because, and what made me think of it, if you look at John's head, so this is, I don't need to get into this really, but I mean, if you look at really study the head wound, the actual cut, which is bad, it's a horrible cut, would have, it's a gash. It looks like he fell on something that was had a sharp edge. That's why I was looking at that. I mean, again, it could have been anything.
It could have been. Right. That's actually the easiest part to find, where if you are unconscious and fall backwards, to hit your head on some form of a ledge, a ridge surface.
Right.
Could even be the fucking plow, right? Like, the point is that it would have to generally be something at least halfway down or further.
Plow, though, and I'll explain why. If you look at John's injury, so this is actually why I said it couldn't be the plow. Now, I'm not a doctor, so
right.
But if you look at it, this is what makes his injury interesting. It actually, and Dr. LaPosada talks about it in detail. It's ridged, but it's also at these very strange. It has a fan quality to it, where it's got different. So they're like scratches that look like how do I describe this? I'm trying to think of the right language. So they're a bunch of different scratches. So she talks about them as these fine lines. They're actually little tiny dots if you look real close, but they fan out at different heights and different degrees of scratch. So it's pretty interesting to look, because if you look at a fireplace, it's not one dimensional, right? You have all these different textures. They come out at different what's the word I'm looking for? They come out at different widths. They come out at they're not at all uniform.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, exactly. And that it wasn't like a uniform pattern. It was linear, but not uniform. And the good news about that house is that Aiden told us that the new owners are Asian and they're willing to monetize. That's great news. So I had asked Miss Judy if she would work some of her Asian magic, and she said she would call over.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, if we have to pay her just to get in the house, I think we could. Why not? If she's into flipping the houses, that's great, because either they're going to take one or the other approach, right? I don't want anyone near my house, or if I can get some money, sure, you guys can come in.
I'm down to do it, of course.
Yeah, me too, of course.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
All right, girl. Well, this was a good nooner. We're at the time.
Yes, lots of fun. Let me just make sure. Wait,
I think there were a few more questions.
Let me get a few more in. Let me first say thank you so much, Proctor Got Waffled, for your donation membership. Thank you so much, dear. I really, really appreciate it. And Got a Bad Feeling says, thank you, Samantha and Vince, for making another Monday fun day. Love you both so much. We love you too, Got a Bad Feeling. Thank you for all your support, for everybody's support. Thank you, Denise, for being the greatest moderator the world has ever known. And thank you, Vince, for another successful Monday nooner.
Thank you. Maybe that person that gave us $100, was that
Nancy?
Yeah, thank
4062.
you, Nancy.
And thank you, Nancy.
Yeah, it was really nice. Yeah.
And Nancy, if you haven't seen the 911 call video on Sam Goldberg, you should definitely check it out. It is hilarious, actually. Not hilarious in a funny way, but he's so guilty. It's insane.
Crazy.
All right, you enjoy the rest of your Monday, and everybody, we'll see you again Wednesday night.
Oh yeah, you Wednesday.
Bye, everybody. Goodbye. Goodbye.
It is the defense counselor's duty to protect the rights of the individual, as it is the prosecution's duty to uphold and defend the laws of the state. Justice for all. Only we have a problem here.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright.
This is me reminding you to like this video. Like the video. I promise if you get up right now and you like this video, I will never sing again. Comment, subscribe.